back to the Sad Dad Games podcast. I'm Shan.
I'm Eric.
I'm Tucker.
I'm Scott.
Well, today we're going to be continuing with part 5 of Death Stranding, episodes 8, Hartman, and episode 9, Higgs. And that's all we can cram in because it's 2 medium episodes. Yeah.
No, I feel like there's a lot of meaty stuff in both of these. I'm sure we'll be able to fill the time.
Yeah, so much
the Hartman chapter is just, I don't know, so lore heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I went back and watched the cutscenes again, as I have to do, and I realized that I just completely misunderstood like half of what Hartman said, and I had to re-digest all of it in preparation for this. Otherwise, like we're doing such a disservice to anybody listening because we're probably getting like half of it right.
It's just like there's so much that of course we're going to get some things, particularly in this game. We're going to get things wrong. We're going to miss details because there's just so much nuance and there's so much depth that just is so easy to miss.
Yeah. And I realized this reminded me, well, because we've been talking about The Good Place so much. Hideo Kojima has been reminding me a lot of Doug Forsett from The Good Place.
Okay.
And in that show, in the opening scene, Michael describes him as a stoner kid who lived in Calgary during the 1970s. And one night he just got really high on mushrooms. And his best friend Randy said, "Hey, what do you think happens after we die?" Doug just launched into this long monologue where he got like 92% correct. And they couldn't believe what they were hearing. And
did some shrooms and saw the afterlife. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Hideo Kojima's also on that wall somewhere.
Yeah.
Having gotten 70% correct.
Well, there we go. 70, the magic percentage.
Kojima's favorite number for some reason. I should probably like at some point look into if it's Kojima or Kojima. I don't know. There's not like obvious emphasis on syllables in Japanese like there are in some other like romantic languages. So
Japanese isn't romantic.
It's probably just like
Also,
Kojima. You know?
Yeah.
I just looked it up, and the very first result says Kojima.
Okay.
So, and the very first result. I didn't even scroll, so it's definitely 100% correct.
It's a sponsored result.
Yeah.
I might be completely wrong
Big
about
ad
accents.
money
Maybe
and
there's a very
Kojima.
obvious accent on everything. I don't know how Japanese works. I just tried to learn it once and then got it completely wrong.
Sounds about right.
So I just used an app instead.
Why learn things when you can just use an app?
That's exactly right. I did passably well, right, Tucker, when we were in Japan?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Just you have the retro game words down, and that's really all that matters when you're in Japan.
Retro gamer.
Yeah.
Retro gamer. Exactly.
I did it. Better at pronouncing that than I am at anybody's name.
Yeah. And suiche is the best Japanese word because it is switch.
Well, and I had to learn, I would learn sentences like, Zelda no densetsu wa doku desu ka? Like, I'd have to ask where the Legend of Zelda is, because I would go into these retro game shops and I'd want to know where specific games are, so I'd prepare these sentences.
It's just like walking into a store and basically saying, "I'm American, Zelda, please." Like,
give me all these games. Give me, please. I shouldn't be doing this on the internet, but here we are.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, nobody's gonna. Yeah, this isn't like Shia LaBeouf where he like intentionally puts himself on a green screen, starts like doing crazy things because he wants to meme himself. But that would be amazing.
I showed some of that to my family just earlier this week, actually.
Yeah? How did they love it?
Yeah.
Were they inspired?
They're not letting their dreams be dreams anymore. So yeah, I think it worked.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic.
Shia would be proud. Yeah.
No, it's so stupid because like he really just rants forever about just doing things, and it works. Like you can listen to that and you have all the newly found motivation that you never had before you watched it. It just actually works psychologically. He knew what he was doing. He's a genius.
You know what? I will do it. Thank you, Shia.
It really is that simple. Just do it.
Do it.
All right. Also, I was remembering. Okay, so I wrote this down. This doesn't tie into this part specifically, but I was thinking the timeline doesn't really add up. The BB-28 and Unger were at the Manhattan Project with Die Hardman, as we saw, like a young Die Hardman without the mask. But a BB should only be 1 year old, and so that was confusing. I don't know, like how Lou BB-28 from the Manhattan Project. I know that they can be suspended in time. Maybe this BB has been suspended indefinitely, but it was something that they didn't call out specifically, but it doesn't add up.
Yeah, I mean, they did at the end of, I think, the Higgs chapter, I think, talk about how BB-28 is a unique BB. He's not your typical BB.
Yeah, he's special somehow.
That also being said, assuming they are numbered linearly, like 28, so he is of the 28 first BBs. I don't know. So maybe there are more after this.
Yeah,
maybe
so I think
hundreds.
It's really interesting is I'm assuming that the numbering system was just for official BBs, because they talk about how like the terrorist organization kind of hijacked the BB project and just started making them off the books. Oh yeah, they started it. Yeah, that's right. They started it, and then it became an official thing that they didn't understand. So I'm assuming that maybe there's just at least 28 official kind of U.S. government sanctioned
issued BBs.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just continue because we don't know. I'm sure they'll tell us later. So you have to grab Mama's corpse and you have to go deliver it to Hartman up in the mountains near a heart-shaped lake. When you get to his place, there are what appear to be frozen BTs hanging up, but they're just mannequins or whatever you want to call them. And you see a countdown timer in the bottom corner that says it's about 1 minute to resuscitation. You see padded floor. There's a lot of detail in this room. There's this bright blue light under lighting, and then there's pink above. And so it's very evocative of a tone, but also symbolic because we know that blue is the color spectrum of death. And I think juxtaposing that with the pink is maybe showing how Hartman is in this constant state of living between life and death. That was the best I could make out of that.
Yeah, his room looked like a coffin to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
with the pads all over the place
with
and
the padded floor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice that, but yeah, it kind of does.
You see Hartman is dead and laying down. You hear a gramophone playing Marche Funèbre by Chopin, and you see a Chiralium hourglass with the Chiralium crystals moving upwards to count down. I this is the second time we've seen an hourglass like this. I love just like the clever functionality of using anything in lore to substitute for what could have been something simple. Or
I had a question on the hourglass.
Yeah.
So seems like the hourglass is not just a timer; it's like a critical piece to Hartman going in and out of cardiac arrest, because he always flips it over. There's one part where Sam has to do it for him. And so I didn't know. I have no idea what. Yeah, he forgets a lot. I was like, oh crap, I got to flip this over. I didn't really know if there was anything to that. If it was just trying to be more like, hey, I guess, what role does the hourglass play, if any?
Kind of just read it as a nice little nugget of visual storytelling from Kojima, where it's just like this physical thing where it's that has to do with chirality and chiral crystals, and I'm sure there's a deeper meaning that I missed, but that's what I got out of it.
It could also just be like an analog substitute for like if the power goes out, hey, has it gone past this time? If so, maybe come and resuscitate me before I'm all the way dead. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, and when Sam did it, I thought it was just another thing that Sam quickly noticed about another person and did because he just wanted to be nice. You know?
He's starting to connect and actually care about people.
Yeah, the little
that
things.
Exact same note. Yeah.
So you see Hartman, shoot up circumspect, and he's crying from dooms, and he's been dead for 21 minutes. I love Darren Jacobs. I don't know that I've seen him in anything else, but he's got this weird aloof personality or just like, I don't know, he's kind of erratic. I can't pin down his acting precisely, but like he's just eccentric and it's fun. But he feels brilliant at the same time. Like they got the mood and tone of this character down in such a fun way.
He reminds me a little bit of Stephen Merchant. I don't know why. They don't exactly look quite alike, but they have a similar like cadence of talking, I guess. And so I get a light Stephen Merchant vibe from him, which is great because I love Stephen Merchant. He's fantastic.
Yeah, everything Stephen Merchant does. But the funniest one is definitely, I think, Jojo Rabbit when he's like a Nazi.
Oh yeah.
That's the one where it's just like everything he does, he's so awful and hilarious in that movie.
I think my favorite role for him is he does the voice of Wheatley in Portal 2.
Oh, and right.
Yes. Just spot on. I love that. It's so funny. It's fantastic.
So good.
Yeah.
All right, so Hartman then goes on to explain that he spends 21 minutes alive and then 3 on the beach. And 3, clearly, he's chosen this number because that's, well, how long he was dead for when he explains that he had died and then was brought back to life. And so he's trying to mimic that, but also it's the longest you can be dead without going brain dead. And then I was curious what you thought of, like, is there anything representative of choosing 21 minutes to counter that? It fits nicely with a lot of things, but they don't say it means anything specifically.
Oh, meaning beyond, like, there was some kind of 21 minutes between a couple of events in the game, though, right? Like, it wasn't... I thought he mentioned something about 21 minutes after some event he died or something. I can't remember. I thought he explained it, but I didn't think beyond that.
Well, I just meant like why Kojima might have chosen that number.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't think of anything.
I had the same thing in my notes where I was like, ask this in the podcast because I'm not sure what the significance of 21 and 3 minutes is. You know, totaling 24 is just maybe 24-minute cycle divides nicely into a 24-hour day, or I don't know. Well, but it doesn't really because there's not 100 minutes in an hour, so I don't know.
Well, no, you can. He says there are 60 deaths and resurrections per day, so you take.
Okay, so it goes. Yeah.
So it does divide perfectly into a day, which I thought was great for circadian rhythm and everything. It doesn't end up slowly creeping you into different days and throwing you off. So I think that's part of it. Also, I know that he's like a huge film aficionado, so I didn't know if it had anything to do with a reference to like frames per second on a film, but that seems like a reach. But he loves media, and you see that like it felt like he was referencing his own media library when he was showing all the stuff that he loves.
I got that.
Yeah, I was going to make that point of just like, oh, hey, check out all my cool crap. And I'm like, oh, this is Kojima showing off here.
I would be willing.
Random obscure things.
Yeah, I would be willing to bet that a lot of the books on the shelves and a lot of the movies and music and stuff are things from Kojima's actual media collection. That he like, I bet that a lot of those are his.
Yeah, I just started his book, and he describes, he says he goes to a bookstore like almost every single day. He's always looking for a new book. He's uncomfortable without one. He describes books as memes that pass culture and story on through generations. He is passionate about how they connect us, and he's passionate about finding books just by sight that will reach that top 10% threshold for something that he will be deeply passionate about and will stand above the rest. And he doesn't want to just go searching for it on the internet. He wants to be able to refine the talent of finding something just by looking for it. And because he wants that talent to bleed into how he is able to find the perfect formula for a story when he creates. It's interesting, but yeah, so he's always consuming media, and that's so he's deeply brilliant and creative, but it's because he's really just consumed so much that he's freely associating all these things into his own thing. But so it's really just referencing a lot of different things. It's like Michael Scott when he says he borrowed a lot from different poems, you know.
Borrowed a lot from other poems.
Yeah. Also, you see Hartman playing with like a digital display, and it looks like they're referencing Minority Report right there. That has to be what
he's got the little glove, and he's yeah,
exactly. Hartman describes that he's searching for on the beach for his family who's departed, and he's done this 218,549 times nonstop. I guess we could probably do the math on like how many days it has been since.
Just take that divided by 60. If he's doing 60 a day.
So he's been doing this for 3,600 days. He's
oh my gosh. Sounds like 10 years.
10 It's been 10 years. Wow. He should be dead. You shouldn't do that to your heart.
Well, he's died. Yeah, he died. Yeah. He's died 200,000, whatever that number is. I can't.
Okay. Yeah.
You have no idea the physical toll. 10 years.
The bazillion resuscitations takes on a body. Snip, snap,
we
snip,
do.
Snap.
Yeah.
It causes this
zip zap, zip zap. That's what.
There it is. Tucker found the joke. Yep.
It causes myocardial cortiformia, which causes his heart. It's like he found the flimsiest scientific explanation for malforming the heart into an actual heart. It's so sci-fi campy.
That was also one of my favorite parts. Is the
it's just breaking the fourth wall.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Even when he's dead.
Yeah.
It's so delightful.
It's like the
or when you ask a dumb question and he's like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, and that one time he gives you a thumbs down.
Yeah, it's just
and you're like, excuse me? I'm doing my best over here, man.
It's like he sees through the camera to you. He's connecting with you, the player.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think that's what they're doing intentionally. Yeah, so he's a fascinating... It's like, I wonder if what he's saying from his point of view is that Hartman has died so many times and gone to the beach so many times. It's like he has a dooms level, and because he says that from all these travels to and from the beach, he's able to travel. Usually everybody has their own beach, but he's able to travel to others because of his heart deformation, or he kind of just does some hand wavy science around it. But
yeah, he says that his beach is connected to others, and that he's the exception, but doesn't really elaborate why.
So is Hideo Kojima implying that Hartman is connected to everybody in this way, and he is able to connect with us, the player, through the medium of the game because he has deformed his heart so much? Maybe that's what they're going for. He's like, he sees through this liminal space of the screen, quote unquote, and he's connecting with us specifically.
huh.
Cha-ching!
Interesting.
A thumbs up.
All right. So yeah, coincidentally, there was a void out up there in the mountains, and I don't know, maybe it was always snowy, maybe it wasn't. But because also I was curious about this because they said there are pyramids up there, which I don't believe because it was that spiritualist, but they have referenced that there's large clusters of BTs all over the mountains. And yes, mountains have a lot of snow on them regularly, but I'm curious if like all of this death around there, we see that whenever Sam is around BTs, the temperature drops and he has cold breath. I'm wondering if all that death caused permafrost up in the mountains.
Maybe. I mean, we haven't seen snow around other places that have had void outs.
Yeah, but this is like everywhere. They specifically say when you're connecting all of the scientists that there are a ton of BTs. There's been a lot of activity out
there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
They kind of have the spooky whole like dead, the trope of like, when there's ghosts around, it's cold and your breath gets chilled. And when you're around BTs,
Dementors.
Yeah, like Dementors and ghosts and BTs. They're all the same thing.
No, not like Dementors.
Not like Harry Potter.
Not like Harry Potter.
How many office quotes can we fit into the episode today?
It's going to be so many.
Yeah.
At least 7.
One every 21 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we'll take a 3-minute break. And then
I'll start my time.
Right. Yeah.
I did have it before we move on to him leaving the thing. I had a quick question for you guys.
Yeah.
So when Hartman is recounting his experience of when he died, like the first time, him and his family died, and I think it was the void out or a bomb or something. And they go to the beach, and there's like 100 or more other people there on the beach, all moving towards something, moving through the beach. And then
they're moving into the water, which is
they're moving into the water.
Yeah.
And then Hartman's family, his daughter and his wife are going there as well. Hartman is pulled back, and I'm wondering, when we've seen beaches before, they've usually been for individual people. And I think it's referenced in the past that when there's a big event, that it can pull multiple people into the same beach. Is that what's good? That's what's going on here,
happening.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I read that right.
That's what happens in the battlefields. Yeah.
Oh yes, that's where I heard it before. When you're with Cliff and his soldiers and stuff, they get pulled in the same beach.
Yeah, he said during this event there were multiple void outs, and everybody from all those surrounding void outs were a part of this beach.
Okay. So and then Hartman's mentioned something about how let's see, that the beach is just a corridor, a place they, meaning people, pass through on the way to the other side, which is something that I don't know why I kind of missed before. I thought that beaches were kind of the afterlife, but it's like the hallway into the afterlife. I just I don't know. We've been discussing this so much. I don't know how that detail evaded me until now.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it earlier being like a Purgatorio reference, but it's like Lost. It's like the island. Spoilers, obviously, but if you haven't watched it by now, you're not. It's too late.
Yeah, if you don't have an iPod by now, you're not gonna. You're not gonna get one.
It hasn't been 21 minutes yet, Tucker.
But yeah, it's like at the end of that show when they are neither. Where they create a space where they can all meet, where it is a time that exists outside of time, where they can all find each other and then move on together to the next life. So it's like that, where it's just like a holding room for the transition. And then they go down to the ocean to die, and it's like that scene from Oh Brother Where Art Thou when they're going down to get baptized.
Went down to the river to pray.
They weren't singing in it. It was
that good old way. What a great movie.
Yeah.
So good.
It really is. Everybody needs to go stop what they're doing and go watch it right now.
Yeah, if you haven't watched
this,
turn off this episode, go watch Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and then come right back. Or better, just finish this. Just finish this, and then go watch War Brother.
Yeah. So he says after the loss, he became obsessed with the idea that beaches are real, and they moved, and they are on it. And so he induces cardiac arrest to go find them. And I was curious if he's gone through over 200,000 of these. I'm wondering if because he died in a void out that was connected to several cities voiding out, if that caused the joining of all of their beaches. And I know that they have all, maybe most of them have moved on through that liminal beach transition to the next life, but that has allowed him to, no, because that would only create one singular beach. I was wondering if he's technically traveling through the beaches of the people who died, their individual beaches, looking for them.
I wonder about this too. Is he?
Or if it's just any beaches.
What leads him to believe that his family is still on the beach?
Yeah, I think that same question.
Yeah, because they're going into the water.
Yeah, they're calf deep by the time he gets dragged back. It's not. Yeah.
And I wonder if it's just the whole in denial.
No body, no crime thing. Yeah. If you don't see if you don't see somebody die, they're not dead. That's the cardinal rule of video games or of movies and stuff.
Or just everything. Yeah.
Any death that happens off screen doesn't count.
Exactly. And also maybe you could say because they weren't able to transition without him, and so him being pulled back stopped them from moving on at the last minute. That was the best I could make out of that. And he's hoping that's the case, but he doesn't know.
Well, because when he's getting pulled out, you can hear the defibrillators, that little shocking noise and the beep. Mm-hmm. And every time it happens, it pulls him back. And then eventually he's clawing at the beach and being yanked away from the beach and yells just something. I don't remember his exact words, but it's wait for me or don't go without me or something like that.
Oh, I missed that.
And so I wonder if that's him calling out in that way kept them on the beach and didn't let them move on.
And he just has to hope. But they didn't look back, so he doesn't know, but he's trying. So it might be a futile, thing that he's doing. Also, we see that the beach is completely filter blue, so it's the color spectrum of death, and we understand this now. Although not all beaches represent them this way, and maybe it's because it's like a visual storytelling motif. But, when Sam's underwater, it's all blue, but here it's blue. We also find out later there are different levels of beaches. I don't know if that was this. Maybe this is a beach that is purely transitional to the other life. I don't know what to make of that. Or maybe there's just so much mass death and it's not it's kind of a trauma. Because it's not like the war beach where the exits have closed. This one still has exits.
Also, I like whenever Sam goes to his beach, right before he repatriates, he's naked, and none of these people are naked. Is that just so we can see Norman reach his butt, or
no?
Like
every time he's naked, it's a vision.
Is it? It's not. Yeah. I'll have to go back and look at that, but maybe that would explain that. So never mind.
Okay.
Right.
There were a couple other things that I thought were kind of interesting about the beach. So Hartman says, one person, one beach, I'm the exception, right?
Yes.
I think you mentioned that already.
Right.
But there's been so many exceptions, like Amelia's on our beach, and the beach that he went to when he died was full of people. Every time we encounter Unger, there's hundreds of people on the beach. So like, what is he talking about with one person, one beach, when clearly that's not the case? Like, the thing that makes this game interesting is the fact that we're seeing other people on beaches, like what's the significance there?
Specifically talks about him dying and having everybody on the same beach. But he's also, so while he's saying that's the rule, he's also explaining his historical accounting of when he was on the same beach with several people. So I think he's just talking about
doesn't he also
having their own beach. What?
Yeah, doesn't he also explain when events like this that beaches can get tangled up, and then that's why
So maybe it's not a shared beach. It's lots of people's individual beaches overlapping.
Right. Okay. So I think what he's like, yes, that's maybe the wrong way to say it, but I think what he's saying is he's able to jump to beaches he has no right visiting because he wasn't a part of their death.
Gotcha. I had another beach-related question. So I can't remember how many episodes ago it was, but it was when Dead Man gets peed on, I think. And then he goes and just kind of stands in the shower until we go talk to him.
Like a weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah. But one of the things he says is Fragile helped him get there. And he said he was already filthy or dirty from traveling through Fragile's beach. Right. Why don't we get dirty? Why did he get dirty and then complain about it?
There's like a level of Chiralium that's not like the Timefall Chiralium, where you don't get covered in black. They just say you're dirty and you should go shower because you've traveled to the beach and you've covered yourself in Chiralium. Okay, I didn't notice that. I wasn't sure if there was something special about Dead Man. It's just the beach is entirely constructed of Chiralium. And so just traveling through it collects that all over yourself, even if you see it or not. And so whenever you travel there, like fighting Higgs. Yeah. Everywhere.
It's coarse and it's irritating.
Yeah.
Gets everywhere.
But you
sounds a lot like sand. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So you've brought Mama's corpse, and he explains that it doesn't necrotize, it's the perfect corpse or mummy. He pulls out an umbilical cord in a vial put there by Dead Man, and he says it's connected to the beach, but it's human and resembles a BT's tether. All right, so I completely misunderstood this. I thought this was the umbilical cord from Mama.
I thought the same thing until Hartman explains it later on.
Well, I thought, because it like comes with Mama, and he's like, it's this, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the umbilical cord that connected Mama to her baby. And then like later on, they just straight up tell you what it is, and it's not that.
Yeah, but I was misunderstanding everything he said after that because my head was still in the other space of what it was. All right, so, but yeah. So
he also finds it without looking. Like he's like staring at you and he's like, where is it? There it is. And I thought that was kind of weird.
Hartman believes in making eye contact with the person when he's talking to him. It's only polite.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Never breaks eye contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, he describes the umbilical cord as having come from President Strand. So this is not Mama's umbilical cord, it is President Strand's umbilical cord, which is really weird because she's a human, she has an umbilical cord, and it wasn't tied to a fetus, it was outside of her body. Also, does that mean she actually had cancer? Because she had that pooling of chiralium around her stomach where that umbilical cord would have fallen off of. So, and he says anybody that has, well, his theory is that anybody that has one of these umbilical cords, which is not a human umbilical cord, but more like a BT umbilical cord, is an extinction entity. And it's likely if Bridget had this, which now they call these umbilical cords of that nature strands. And so now it makes sense why her name is President Strand and that's her line and stuff. She is an extinction entity with a strand connected to the beach that makes her a threat to humanity for the 6th extinction event. And he postulates that Amelie, being her daughter, might also be an extinction entity, and that Higgs is going to use this to cause the 6th extinction event. So that's fun.
Lots of lore dumping that is can be hard to follow. Yeah.
Turns out Amelie's the bad guy.
You never
the person you most medium
yourself.
suspect.
I think Sam asks if Higgs is pulling the strings of Unger and all of them. And Hartman says evidence does suggest that Higgs brought them here. So I didn't know what evidence he was referring to. But all right.
I don't know if it's anything they've shown the player or if it's just, yeah.
Okay. He also, like, at one point says time stops on the beach, but not in the seam. We don't have to talk about that, but he says it, I think, while he's about to die in between talking.
Yeah, he likes to throw in these big lore bombs, like 5 seconds before he goes into cardiac arrest.
By the way,
I paused it. Like, what did he just say? Let me try to internalize that.
Like, I'm not a big fan of exposition, but I would really appreciate it in these moments.
Yeah. Can you maybe just a little bit more explain what in the world you're talking about? Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to understand, like, why would he say that? Why is he explaining that to Sam? Sam already understands that he's going to be dead for 3 minutes. Why does he have to explain that time stops on the beach, but not in the seam? Like, what is the point of inserting that lore right there? I don't know what it means.
Well, I think it's something that's been explained to us before, right? That there's some kind of time dilation.
Well, yeah, we know there's time dilation, but, like, why not in the seam? I don't know. And so, also, he's not repatriating, but he's coming back through the seam because he's being resuscitated. But he's not traveling in through his own mouth, so the seam isn't specifically that all the time. It's just coming back through.
Well, I took it as at least just because he's gone for 3 minutes, he's not just having 3 minutes on the beach. He can be having hours searching these beaches, even though it's just 3 minutes has passed for Sam.
Narnia rules again.
Yeah, Narnia rules here, but. I mean, there's probably more to that because he doesn't.
I thought maybe it meant when he wasn't on the beach, time wasn't passing. Time only passed when he was on the beach, like at the beach. You know, it was like 21 minutes when he was alive. Nothing was happening on the beach. Like time wasn't passing then. But once he was there, like there was an observer kind of thing. Then time passed. I thought maybe that's what it meant.
I don't know.
See, it's so deep, and it's just this random line that he just says.
I only understood.
Let me pause and rewind that like 50 times.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the name of that one Star Trek episode, like Inner Light or something, where
which generation?
Captain Picard, Next Generation, where he gets blasted with something and then he lives an entire life in a few seconds or something. and then it's just so he can witness like this this culture and its demise or something. Yeah.
I don't know that one. I do know the episode of Adventure Time when Finn goes into the Pillow Fort and becomes a father to the Pillow family. Yep. And then he comes back and no time has passed.
Shot for shot remake.
It's the
Star Trek episode.
Identical.
There's a few different retellings of the same kind of thing, but man, that would be exhausting. He's gone for 3 minutes, but he's experienced like 35 years or something. Every 21 minutes, man, that would be in existence.
It's like everything, everybody does this. Dreamlike states or whatever is always different time rules. All right, so Sam actually opens up about his family also having died, but Hartman keeps going in for like these physical interactions because he's a very touchy-feely person. He's very connected in that way. And
lots of handshakes and stuff like that.
Yeah, he asks Sam if he has a photo, and he refuses to. Well, he says he doesn't. He does not want to share, I guess, what is, that he's related to President Strand. That's probably why.
Oh, okay. I was curious what you guys thought on why he said he didn't have a picture. And this is right after he told Deadman that all of this stuff didn't happen. And then with Hartman, he's like, yeah, I had a family.
That being said, he's starting to relate to people. Like, he opens up to Mama, right? And he's opening up to Hartman, and it's specifically about things that he connects with his own life.
Yeah, him and Hartman have such a, supposedly strong parallel story. Yeah.
And I like also with Hartman, just a quick note, we've talked previously about like Kojima exploring how the beach and death and this world would affect different kinds of people. Like with Die Hardman, he doesn't have a Ka. How would that affect him? With Mama and Lochna, they, 2 Kas and 1 Ha. How would that affect them? And now it's talking about Hartman, who has a Ka that slips back and forth from the beach regularly, and how would this kind of world affect that? And so he's taking all of these different scenarios and exploring what those
the bounds of the scientific
the bounds of the rules that he's set up in this world, and how those would interact with different people. And he's doing that via different types of characters, which I think is interesting and easy to kind of like parse in your mind. It's like so and so is like this, so and so is like that. So it's an interesting, fun way to kind of piece out the story.
It's brilliant way to tell a story like episodically because like every episode is just a character vignette that explores the bounds of his world, but it's all like every single one of them has something very deep and fascinating about it. It's just a great way to tell a story. The Last of Us Part 1 kind of did the same thing, where you're episodically visiting specific characters that tell a specific thing and transform one of the 2 central characters in some way that move them towards how they react in the final scene. And that's kind of what's happening here. So I love this story structure. It's fantastic. Although it makes episode 3, Fragile, 8 hours long.
Lots going on with Fragile.
All right, so Hartman wants you to bring his colleagues, his fellow scientists, back online. He describes that the strata contains information only known from the late Cretaceous period when dinosaurs died. Supposedly the location where the last ones died is right here in the center of the USA, or the UCA, my bad. And he wants to find clues to survive another mass extinction event, and Amelie agreed with this idea. But there was tar belt activity spreading from the east. Maybe it's Higgs, that's what they think, and it stopped their westward expansion. So they need Sam to go out there and construct a knot to be able to, connect the UCA at the final strand connection. And then Hartman, he collapses because he had silenced his defibrillator or his
little
AI assistant
timer thing.
I like how he's like, I'm just going to mute that. It's like, I already know what's going to happen here.
It
seems
still
like a bad idea.
Yeah.
But this is where Sam sets the hourglass as he's leaving, which fantastic. He's connecting, but then he goes and he scratches the record. I love that because he's so just like aloof and quiet, and then randomly he's like, no, but I'm punk and I'm awesome. And it's like he thinks so, like he does this also when he's in his room and you think he's just this quiet, reserved person, and then you go to the mirror and you can like make goofy faces at yourself. Yeah. Like inside he's got a lot of charm, but he just keeps it to himself.
Yeah, I feel like that's just the dev team showing off the facial animations. They're like we spent all this time making these really realistic faces and the muscles and the tissue move and stuff. It's like we need to make the most of this. What if we have a mode where you can go and stand in front of the mirror and Sam can just make faces at himself?
Yeah, we paid for Norman Reedus's time. We're going to use it, and so
he's got an hour left on the clock. What can we do with him? Yeah,
I'm sure this is also how they do mocap, right? They probably just stare into a camera and they just like make all the faces they can to get all the
well, they've got the cameras strapped like they've got those big headgear things with a camera like floating like a foot or so in front of their face. But yeah.
And after he scratches the record, he's like, yeah boy.
Yeah. It's a quote. Yeah. And then he hops on a skateboard and he rides down the mountain.
Right. So the science team has found a fossil beach from the last mass extinction event, the end of the Cretaceous and end of the dinos and the start of the mammals. Die Hardman also says Hartman's dooms has increased from surviving the beach. So as far as understanding how dooms levels increases, I still think it's exposure to chiralium, which you get a lot of on the beach, but also maybe how fragile increased her dooms level.
Yeah, I think that line all but confirms that theory. Yeah.
All right. Did you catch what the geologist, the first scientist, was wearing?
No.
Who's seen Star Trek? Yeah, he's wearing first generation Star Trek long tee.
Don't know how I missed that.
The yellow long sleeve shirt with like
he's a yellow
black
shirt. That guy's dead. Yeah.
No, yellow is, no, you're thinking red shirt, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
red
yes,
shirt.
that's right. The red shirt.
Yellow is Commander.
Idiot.
Yeah, I
feel so stupid right now, you guys. I got the red shirt joke wrong. Yeah.
I haven't. I tried to watch. I wanted to watch all of Star Trek, and I wanted to start at the beginning, and that's the wrong place to start. Watching the first 3 seasons is insufferable. It is so hard to watch.
Star Trek,
it's fantastic.
If you're going to start with the original, start with like the original movies because they're pretty solid.
And then you just skip to next
and then go to next gen, and then you can go back and read.
Next Generation's pretty
it's so good.
Yeah,
it is. It holds up pretty well.
Is it like the 7th movie or something where they like come to Earth and there's something to do with like alien whales or something that they have to?
There's a probe that was sent to space that was whale noises because for some reason they thought that would be a universal language. And
such a nerd.
I can't remember. I'm a little fuzzy on the exact details of it. But
I just remember way too heavy into the whales after like the Wrath of Khan, some of the greatest storytelling in movie history, and then they jumped the shark like Planet of the Apes and they went with whales. It got real weird with it. They get so much harder to watch after the first few. Anyway, so clearly Kojima is a very big fan of classic sci-fi, and it's inspired a lot of his works. But it's only the first scientist that's dressed like this. He's also described that he's seeing visions that the Doom Sufferers sees, the end of days stuff, and he didn't realize this was from the chiral contamination. And he says it's good they got to him before the suicidal stage. So that is something that people go through. I don't know why, like, has Sam gone through this? I don't know.
Well, I'm wondering if there's just a handful of people that have, like, why there's a handful of people that have dooms and some that don't. I'm wondering if just some people can get through that suicidal stage and others don't and end up dying before they are actually, like, can use their dooms in useful ways.
You know what?
So can we go back for just a second? Because we were talking about something kind of solidifying a theory that you guys had. Was it exposure to the beach or to chiralium that you were saying helped bump up somebody's Doom's level.
I thought it was Chiralium itself, because you get Chiralium on the beach for sure, but my theory was Chiralium because Fragile had to run through Timefall, and I think that's where she got Dooms.
Okay.
But then she also travels through the beaches regularly, and I'm wondering if that's what bumps her up another level.
I was thinking just higher concentrations, and so like Timefall and then beaches super high concentration versus in the normal world you're not really hitting these super high concentrations of Chiralium.
Yeah, for me it's not solidified quite yet because some things just seem a little bit inconsistent there. The geologist, he's sick and we're getting him meds because he's been exposed to Chiralium for a long time. But then he refers to other people as being Doom sufferers. So he doesn't have it yet. And he also says Doom sufferers. Like, it seems to be a huge advantage in this world. Why would he say sufferers and not like, you lucky Dooms guys? Because you don't have to worry about what I'm worrying about. You know?
Right.
Well, even I think
effects.
Yeah, like Higgs talks about it too later on in the Higgs chapter, because he talks about how Dooms is actually a gift, which I think is weird because like I was with you, Scott, of just like, oh, Dooms is a good thing throughout this entire game until this moment. And it's like, oh, is Dooms actually a bad thing?
Right.
Well, the thing that he's referencing that he doesn't like is visions of the end days, and that might just give you existential dread that he doesn't want to deal with because he doesn't want to be suicidal. It could be that. I guess that's probably what leads to the suicidal ideation, is just, I don't want to be around for what I know is coming.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, that could also plan for a lot of Higgs's motivations as well.
Yeah, if he feels
just
like he's seen...
Just wanted to speed up the extinction event.
Yeah.
Also,
and is that... So when Higgs is telling him, like in our first encounter where he's saying, isn't this what you've been looking for, a game over? Is he just assuming that, everybody who is like Sam with Dooms or long exposure to Chiralium has had those thoughts, and so he's just like, this is what we all want, Maybe.
It could just be that.
Yeah, makes sense.
But also he can smell ascension to power, so he seems to know a lot about people.
You never really know what's going on with Higgs. Yeah.
Also, he's really face lick happy.
He's a real licky guy. He can smell things. Yeah.
He's a real fun guy. Somebody I'd want in my friend group. All right, so Hartman, right after this, he describes fissures of Chiralium, evidence of ancient Death Stranding. Beaches appeared during the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event. So you need to take an antimatter bomb to the paleontologist because he supposedly needs an antimatter bomb to do a dig, which doesn't seem like the right way to do paleontology.
Seems like, trying to plant flowers with dynamite. Like,
But what do we know?
No.
When you get to the paleontologist, he says that he wants you to go find ammonite that some other porter had dropped, and because he says these ammonite had umbilical cords, these strands, because they were extinction entities similar to President Strand, and that makes them unique and crazy, and like they shouldn't have this. He calls them viviparous fish, which are fish that are, as opposed to oviparous, they have the eggs inside of these fish, have the eggs inside of them, and then they are hatched and they grow to full fish inside of them before they are released. So they get their nutrients inside and through the placenta and stuff. So they are not laid as eggs. I had to look that up because he just threw out viviparous. He also threw out ablution at one point. I'm like, cool, I'm learning so much right now.
Yeah.
Look at that, more big words that Shan didn't just know off the top of his head.
Yeah, Kojima is more pretentious than Shan. Who would have guessed it?
I'm here for it. Who here looked up ablution?
Just you.
Yeah,
I didn't.
No way.
I know.
No way. I'm the only one that looks up words. You just let him throw out ablution, and you're like, I don't care.
I knew what that meant. Obviously, Shan. No, but I knew the. I didn't know the other word, but from context, because sharks also are that way. They give live birth, and so from context, I was able to figure out what the other word meant.
Okay. Were you able to figure out from context ablution?
No, I missed that one. Yeah, I must have been typing out a note or something when they threw out ablution.
Okay, well, it's a ceremonial act of washing parts of the body. so it's kind of used humorously, but it's like washing your groin and stuff.
All right.
There's a masturbation joke in there somewhere.
Add the masturbation joke.
Add the masturbation joke.
All right. So yeah, this is a very quick mission. You just run down, get the ammonite, come back, and he's like, "That was impossible. How did you do that?" I'm like, come on, man. It was right outside.
Do you know who you're talking to?
Yeah.
All right. So
Is that
you
the
have
one
to
where
go
you use the mask?
Yeah, the oxygen mask.
Okay.
And so you have to go deliver this to the Evil Devo biologist, which is right outside of this beautiful area, tar pit. And yeah, so here I got caught by the BTs. Did anybody else get caught by the BTs? Because I was reckless. Let's just.
I mean, I'm good at stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're good at stuff. I was running around. Well, like, BB had suffered from autotoxemia, and there's just like nowhere to recover from between Hartman's lab and here. So it's like, okay, I guess I just have autotoxemia and a bunch of BTs everywhere. So I was kind of suffering.
Yeah.
No,
as soon as he gets out of
BB
whack
was working
once,
okay for me.
Yeah, there's just you gotta stay on your toes. If you mess up anywhere along the way, then it's just the rest of it's just a crapshoot. Yeah.
I can't remember, but I think there was a safe house nearby where I rested
Okay.
before I went on that, so I was able to navigate my way through the BTs this time.
Yeah, I just as soon as you can get those like little the little tiny pockets on the back of your pack that each hold like 5 grenades. As soon as that happens in the game, I never had a problem with BTs again, because at any point in the time I've got like 50 grenades and it's just like nothing. You get a little bit close and then blood grenade, a little bit close, blood grenade, and I just no problems with BTs for the rest of the game.
Have you ever pooped a grenade? That's another one.
Okay.
Good at this. Also, I realized when I was cutting umbilical cords that like the Chiralium hands form directly under the umbilical cords after they dissolve and float away. So that's cool. Trying to connect the lore of how that works.
Just a really high concentration of Chiralium right where the BT was.
All the BT nutrients are spilling out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, the Chiralium from the beach, the umbilical cord connects them to the beach, and it's able to travel. We also see that the umbilical cord is golden when the Odra deck is shining light on it when we're in Mama's lab. So I think there's Chiralium in the umbilical cord. So when you sever it, it forms those Chiralium crystals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Isn't that what I just said?
Yeah.
No.
Has all the BT nutrients. What are BT nutrients? Chiralium.
You did say that. I got it. I misunderstood. That's my fault. All right, so you take these samples to the Evil Devo biologist, and she then goes into this monologue about how tar is related to BTs and timefall, both defining features of the post-stranding ecosystem. Organisms then have to adapt or die, and extinction factors are the genetic factors that lead to death. So just like nothing that we didn't necessarily not know, but just kind of solidifying the lore as we go.
Yeah.
All right, so after this, you have to return to Hartman's lab. And although you just know it as a chiral allergy, he has to refer to it as an antigen-antibody reaction. He is my kind of guy. just condescending,
Jen really
pontificating
identifies
about that. He has to sound like the most perspicacious and erudite person in the room.
Okay.
Sorry, can't help it sometimes. All right, so he says that you had this reaction when you met Mama, and Sam thinks it's because there was a BT in the room, but he thinks maybe it was something else causing it. And then they look at Mama's body, and her Ha, let's just call it what it is, you know? We're all scientists now.
Yep.
So Mama had large amounts of chiral matter in her inactive cells. So the dead cells had pooled chiralium, but they're not going necrotic because she doesn't have a Ka trapped inside of her trying to get out, as far as I understand. But it goes on. It gets harder to understand. I sat on this next line for like 5 or 10 minutes. So the BT was her child, but also
And
her
her soul.
own soul. Somehow her Ha and Ka failed to separate. They must have remained connected through the umbilical cord. And that's why Sam didn't get a bruise where she touched him. All right.
Yeah,
Please
there's so much to
elucidate.
digest here that
I need someone else to
Yeah.
like. I did the same thing. I heard that line and I like stopped for a minute and I was like, "What does that?" And I don't have an answer. I have no idea what any of that means. It's very different from what I thought was going on. Like, and then Hartman just throws it out like, "Obviously, this is what happened," and we're supposed to be, "Oh yeah, obviously." Like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
I think I got it by the end, but I need to throw it out, and you need to like contradict me if you think I'm wrong, because clearly her Ka was the thing reaching for her child. You can't argue that, but her child was also acting as her Ka. But I don't know if the child's Ka was intertwined with part of her Ka. I don't know if it was all of her Ka. Maybe it was part of it because they were connected while she was pregnant. So
I
do you want
wonder
me to
if
keep- yeah.
I wonder if
Go on.
because the mother carries the baby inside of her, they're very connected in that way,
like Lochna and Melingen.
like Lochna and Melingen. And so when the baby was born and then passed away, the baby's Ka acted as Mama's Ka, which left and crossed over to the beach. But the baby's Ka couldn't because it was connected to Mama's physical body. And so it wasn't, maybe what Hartman's saying here is that the baby's Ka is not literally his Mama's Ka, but acted as such to keep her tethered to the real world and not technically dead. That's
like
probably
took place of her soul, right?
took place of her soul is a great way to put it. Exactly. That's kind of what I'm thinking maybe.
Because when
So-
she became completely disconnected, that's when she actually dies. And in that way, it was her soul. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I can buy that. Yeah.
So I didn't really understand this, but like, okay, I thought BTs were existing in the beach and we were just seeing them in our world, but there's like a liminal space where the BTs are trapped in between our world and the beach, and they're trying to pass on, but they can't. And so I think that's her Ka is like reaching out, trying to get her child at her lab, but couldn't. And at that point, she could then travel onto the beach. So she wasn't ready to move on to the beach until she had her child, I think. But also, okay, so she's pregnant with a child, and the child passes away. She doesn't physically pass away. Her Ka is able to travel on, or is able to pass through, because they have an umbilical cord, and the umbilical cord is the connection that allows the Ka to pass on. So it was actually like a cheat mechanism for her Ka to escape her body. But when her Ka passed on, the child's soul then acted as her soul, because the child's Ka was still attached to her. So she was able to continue living because that soul was both the child's soul and her own soul still. But her own Ka was like maybe a part of that child, but also not really inside of her.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying, but in less words. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I buy that
More
because
words.
once you cut the umbilical
Oh, I
cord,
see.
that's what does it. I think the umbilical cord is the key there.
It's what allowed her Ka to pass on without necrotizing.
Right.
I think we did. We figured it out. We did it, you guys.
We can call that the liminal space prime. Is that what we call it?
Or beta or something.
Yeah.
Liminal space 1.0. Yeah.
There you go.
None of this will happen when we launch Dunder Mifflin Infinity 2.0.
Yeah.
Time TBD.
TDB. So he says he didn't get a bruise where she touched him. I couldn't place this. Was he supposed to get bruises from normal people touching him?
I think-
is he saying
I think it's
Go on.
Ka's give him bruises. And
it's
I think
BTs
that's
that
what
give
I'll
him bruises? And I think what he's saying is like, I don't know that normal people give him bruises, but it sounded
No,
like that's what he was.
because Fragile gives him a bruise at the very beginning of the game when she touches him.
Stencil. She touches him later, but just on the forehead when she sends
Yeah,
him
but
to
not
the
with her
beach.
hand. With her hand, she like at the beginning of the game, and so he gets a handprint from Fragile. So I'm with Tucker on this one. I think that the presence of a Ka touching his body is what maybe gives him a stencil or a bruise.
Yeah, and he kind of talks about it differently with Deadman, because Deadman is right. Is it with Deadman where he's asking about the handprints on his body? Doesn't he ask him if those are prints from BTs or something? He says, yeah, but this one is from a very clingy woman or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Different, except hers.
So, but it would make sense that a lot of them would come from BTs because of, Sam's line of work. Yeah.
Right. But that one didn't stick. Like, he doesn't still have that handprint anymore from Fragile, does he? I haven't noticed it, but I haven't been looking for it either.
Wearing long sleeves most of the time, so yeah, I have to look.
Yeah. And aren't BTs just kind of Kas anyways?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't they the souls that...
They're the Kas that are stuck on the beach.
That's again where I'm not completely sure. Are they on the beach or not, or are they stuck in our world trying to get to the beach?
So
because
I thought they were on the
Chiralium.
beach, but haven't walked into the water to pass on because they have unfinished business.
I think it's right.
That's kind of what I was feeling too. Yeah.
Right. It seemed like we had a theory that they were trying to find some body to inhabit so they could finish their unfinished work or something like that. Right? That was
My
Tucker's
theory is
theory.
that they're helping them pass on to the next realm, but we don't know, and everybody else is against me on that one. I don't know. I know that BTs aren't a very generous kind, but it just seems like maybe it's like a natural instinct for them to try to find that and help them move on. Because it's what I don't know.
At all costs, whether they want it or not.
It's just my instinct.
Yeah.
It's like
they're
it's
the
like
Delta
something they
Airlines.
can't help because they're
Kidnap you
drawn
and
to
take
it.
you to other lives.
It's like a fly drawn to Shisa, They crave it, and then they cause these void outs because of it. All right.
So, yeah. There's a diarrhea joke in there somewhere too.
Yeah.
On void out.
Is there?
Well, you said Shiza. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just keeps running on.
Yeah.
All right, so Hartman, he modifies the log to have no record of the discussion because they don't want Die Hardman to hear this next part because he's always listening.
Which is a much more preferable way of having a private conversation than what Deadman does.
Than the shower. I could have done this the whole
come take a
time,
shower
but let's
with me.
shower together.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe just turn your comms off for a second, you big weirdo.
he doesn't take showers. He just performs ablution, so there's no opportunity. All right. So yeah, we've talked about this. The umbilical cord. It came from President Strand instead. It wasn't attached to a fetus. All of that stuff. President Strand insisted that this was the key to unlocking the Death Stranding, but insisted that Deadman never tell the director. So even President Strand was against the director, and we see later that they're quarreling on the beach.
My mother and I are quarreling.
Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit more than a quarrel. They are, he's straight up trying to shoot her.
But they seemed, docile and amicable at the beginning when he had invited you in to come say goodbye to her. So I don't know what's really going on between them. Maybe did he usher in her death in some way? I don't know.
Maybe we'll find out later. Next time.
Also, this was an interesting thought. I don't know that it's true, but President Strand, if she had that umbilical cord, that strand, is this somehow related to repatriates having that T-section because they don't have that umbilical cord? Like, do we know if they maybe at one point were extinction entities? Because Amelie is President Strand's daughter and is an extinction entity, possibly. Could Sam have been an extinction entity and he has that T-section?
And they just, took it out.
They got rid
And
of
that
the-
made him a repatriate? That's what makes him the exception?
Oh.
An extinction
That's
entity
interesting.
without a strand? Because people with strands are frozen in time. We didn't really talk about that, but like the Iceman, the Ammonites are frozen in time because they had those.
And Amelie's frozen in time as an extinction event.
Oh, shit. That would be
man.
so fascinating.
We might have stumbled upon a bit of lore that, if we're right, is very cool.
But I honestly don't remember.
Yeah.
It seems like such a big thing to maybe have remembered from the first time I played this game. That's gonna stick with me for a long time.
Have to pay attention.
Yeah. All right. So let's see, where are we? Oh wait, no, that was just right here. This is where he talks about the theory of the woolly mammoth and the Iceman having the same umbilical cords. All right, and he says the mammalian umbilici are a sort of mimesis of the strand that evolved over time. So it's just throwing out all these.
Yeah, we all know what that means.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely,
words.
definitely.
No, reminds me of, you guys see Good Burger when
of course, welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
I know some of these words. Yeah, that's the vibe
How
I get every time.
How could you have been
talks.
like a millennial in the 90s and have not seen that movie? You know,
Scott, I'm
so
very
hard to hold
disappointed
off.
if you haven't seen Good Burger.
really,
I've seen
Man,
that
watch
clip,
it right now.
but I haven't
I'm sure
seen the
it's
movie.
terrible. Yeah, I
Watch
bet it
it.
does not hold
I've
up.
heard of it, but no, I have not watched it.
No, I haven't.
But no, that he's just implying that that maybe the actual mammalian umbilici are just like a sort of evolution from these strands that are from extinction entities, possibly in some way. But he says it in cooler words that probably denote something completely different than what I just said. All right. So we've talked about all of these. So that makes that ties into his extinction entity theory. So organisms that have the strands are extinction entities, and we don't know if Bridget was or not because her body was burned, but I think we can just assume she is because we're talking about it, aren't we? Higgs said that Amelie is an extinction entity, but she doesn't have dooms like the rest of us. And we find out later in the Higgs chapter that she kind of is the one granting people dooms. So we'll get to that. Let's see. So he tells you to go west, and then you come across a tar pit. You're supposed to throw yourself into a bunch of BTs. Scott, how long did it take you to figure this out?
Not long, because I was like,
Good.
I don't
Took
have
me
time
so
for this. I need to figure it out. I just looked up something. It was like, just get caught by the PTs, and I was like, okay, got it. And so I did that and went for it there. So no, I did not spend time on this. I didn't have the patience.
Well,
All
in
right,
this
well, it's
moment, they
clever.
it's like, I think it's Die Hardman who's like, you'll probably think of something, and then he just goes away. And the game really is like, a lot of times like that in a game, it's like they'll give you a clue or a hint, or they'll like kind of nudge you in the right direction, or the main character will be like, I'm going to do this. But they just kind of like leave you there, and they're like,
Yeah,
figure it out.
this and Dead Man's Shower were the times I just like sat there playing the game like, I don't know what to do.
what do I do?
Yeah.
And I do wish that I had figured it out on my own and spent the time to do it. But with the time available that I have to play this game, it's like, I don't got time for this. I just need to figure out.
Ain't nobody
how
got
to-
time for that.
I think they're just banking on people being impatient and just like, whatever, I'm just going to run into it. Like,
Yeah,
No, so
maybe.
he does say maybe look at your messages if you take too long, and that's when you can see people referencing that like old buildings sometimes shoot up from the tar that are frozen in time as from the beach, and so that's sort of that time distorting effect from the beach when things get sucked into it.
Yeah.
but I remember thinking like, because you can construct like bridges via chiral printers and stuff like that, and it's like I like went looking through the things as like, can I do like make a really big bridge now or something? Am I gonna have to go gather materials
Just
and like
Tears of the Kingdom just as big,
just tears of
long
like
bridge.
50 logs all in a row and
Yeah.
just
Your frame rate drops to 3.
yeah. And but no, and I think the first time I played the game I had to do the same thing. I was like, I have no idea what to do here, and I had to look it up, and it's just like, just get caught by the BTs, and I was like, oh well, I can do that. Like, I can get caught by the BTs.
Yeah. I think the BTs, aren't they golden at this point? They are in a few places. Like the Chiralium is clear, not here. Oh, not here, but later. They start becoming golden. I think the Chiralium is just getting so dense. I think that's all it is.
I ran into some gold BTs near South Knot City, but I had a void out there earlier. I don't know if it
interesting.
was related or not, but I think that might be related.
Huh. That's cool.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, while you're running through this, trying to run away from like the cosmic whale BTs,
Super
you
cool.
see random drops of yellow, which resemble like the yellow, like urine grenades that you can throw. So are you peeing yourself? Is that what's going on here?
I thought that was just marking. I thought that was just like video game. Hey, something big is about to come up out of here. Get out of the way.
No, I think you pee yourself.
Like, yeah.
Listen. Kojima designed a game where you straight up make pee pee and poo poo grenades. Like, I would not. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Also, can we talk about how hilarious it is that they're named number 1 and number 2 grenades? I don't know why. Like, every time you take a shower and it's like, or every time you go to the bathroom and it's like, here's a number 1 grenade, and I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, it's just dumb.
Eric was the target audience for that.
Listen, the more juvenile the joke, the more I'm ready for it. Like, that was just for me. Yeah. I'm a lowbrow humor kind of guy.
I think a while ago I was reading about the game, and I think when you're around BTs, you can pee and like scare them away.
Yeah.
You
straight up
do have
tinkle
the
on
pee
them.
function. I've never done it.
Yeah.
If you like drink a bunch
Mark
of that
your
energy
territory.
drink. Yeah. And then you can tinkle on the BTs.
Yeah, I've never tried
that.
it, but yeah.
It's amazing. All right, so at the end of this giant tar pit, you see Amelie, and she greets you and then walks away as you drown in the tar. So I didn't know, like,
What
is
the heck?
Amelie real here? Are you just imagining things because
She's
you've
not
been
wearing the
running around in
kipu,
tar?
so at the very least, she's a realistic, like, current depiction of Amelie's state, if it's not her, actually.
Doesn't seem to care a whole lot.
Yeah,
No.
rude.
We're getting a lot of, like, cognitive dissonance on, like, how is she aligned right now?
Yeah.
We don't. All right, so after you die, you have what I assume is a vision. I really think every time he's naked, it's a vision. It's something that we find out later. Higgs does say that Doom's people can have visions, which solidifies that not everything is manifestly real, or because at the beginning of the game, he has the Cupid, he has the handcuffs, and he has like all these things that he shouldn't have at that time because it's his first death in the game. And so it's really just at that point he's having a vision of something that should be inevitable, which is the coming of the Death Stranding.
Yeah, I think that tracks really well with just the people with Doom see the end times. Why wouldn't they be able to see other visions like this as well that are semi-related?
Well, and another argument for this being a vision is that I think Sam like comes to, he repatriates, but there's no void out, no evidence of a void out.
Yeah, that's true. So why is
At least
he
not
always
as far as I
naked
can
in his
tell.
visions? Can't he just envision himself clothed? Or is he always naked at the end of days?
He's just, listen, you see what you want to see, and he just wants to be naked in the visions. Like,
I mean, who here hasn't had a dream where you're naked in front of people?
Yeah. I really think he just
Not a nightmare
needs
for
only
Sam.
something
Tucker. Yeah.
to make it clear
only me.
that what's real or not, and being clothed was the best way he could do it.
Maybe that's his totem, right?
That's his totem for if it's real or not.
It's like that one episode of Rick and Morty where Rick has to go into Bird Person's brain, and he's like, "Oh, I'm wearing all my clothes. I thought for sure I'd have to be naked for something this artsy fartsy," and then it like strips all of his clothes off. And he's like, "Oh, yep, there we go." Yeah.
Yeah, so this vision does seem to parallel, like, because we have Amelie seeing London Bridges falling down, and she walks into the water, and you follow after, and you get sucked under. So it's like identical to the first vision that you have at the beginning of the game. I think it's just denoting that like nothing has changed, and it's still coming, and you haven't derailed it at all, even with the connecting of the UCA.
Interesting.
That it hasn't stopped anything. It's
Nobody thinks about these things; they just let it happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think that this is I was just going to repeat what you said. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, like even Higgs talks about that of just like the connection is not. It's not saving anything. If anything, it's speeding up the extinction event. And then, later on, we have this conversation with Amelie where she's like, yeah, the connection thing was, just so you would come and find me. It wasn't actually about connecting the UCA.
Well, and Mama previously talks about the dangers, the potential dangers of connecting the chiral network, and so increasing chirality and
I think, Tucker, you got it backwards.
Yeah, I have it backwards.
The premise to go
the
find
premise,
her was fake. to connect the UCA, which she does want.
Yeah.
Right.
Gosh, I'm such an idiot right now, Tucker.
I am the dumbest boy in school.
Almost
Dumbest
as
boy
dumb
in
as when I got
school.
the red shirt and the yellow shirt thing mixed up.
Yeah, almost as dumb, but not as dumb.
That was
all
really
right,
embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm having a
you
hard
wake up
time
on the
looking
beach.
you in the eyes now.
You wake up again. You're covered in tar. You throw up. Higgs shows up. He tells you to quiet down, not to scare Amelie away. Your network helped Higgs to find Amelie, and you see the floating mask between the two of them. He thanks you. He has the chiral code tattooed on his forehead, so he really loves this whole connection thing, which is anti-separatist, which is his entire deal, but for some reason he really likes it now. Anathema to his whole shtick. All right, so then that's where he licks you, and
Come on, man.
he's a licker. And also he thinks Chiralium's delicious.
That's
I'm
probably
curious.
what it is. Yeah. He just likes the taste of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Chiralium plus skin salt is just the tasty treat.
Chef's
You
kiss.
need a little bit of sodium to unlock that flavor.
Yeah.
It brings out that umami flavor.
I know what he's. I know what he's talking about. I sprout mung beans in my desk. Very nutritious, but they smell like death.
Should we stop doing a video game podcast and just like do quotes from The Office? I feel like that's kind of where we're veering, anyways.
That's why we have all 81 of our followers.
Yeah.
4 of them are us. I'm pretty sure. So
Who knows? It could be other people.
and 4 others are our wives.
Yeah.
Nice supportive spouses. Yeah.
All right. So Higgs refers to Sam's boss man and that woman. I assume he's talking about Amelie. He doesn't. He's a little nondescript here on purpose. He's being kludgy. He says that they're all wearing masks. Which he seems to hate, even though he loves his mask. So he says he puts the mask on Sam. He tells it it's time that the mask can come off.
Yeah, I had a lot of questions around Higgs's mask because it seems like it's just like sucking people's life. I don't know what it's doing, but it's like
It's
of a weird
electrifying.
brainwashing thing too. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
Seems
not
he uses
brainwashing
it to
Sam
control
when he
Amelie
controls it.
in a way. Yeah, we see
Yeah.
that later when he puts it on Amelie. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly. It's the function of Higgs masks or of Higgs mask. Yeah.
All right, so he wants them to race to find Amelie to rush into End of Days. No need to wear masks soon. He rubs the Chiralium from Sam's face onto his.
Yeah. So he just thinks
cool.
it's
He's
delicious.
just
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Episode 9, Higgs. We're gonna have to rush through this one. Higgs.
This is a really good
yeah,
one.
just a full dose of Troy Baker, and it's just fantastic.
So
Pump it
good.
right into my veins.
All right, so you wake up in the bed with Tarface, which I don't think you can be canceled for. I'm pretty sure.
Sam said he can still run for mayor. Yeah.
He's at least win his local elections.
Yeah.
All right. So Amelie appears in some sort of glowing apparition, which is different than how she normally appears. But later she like jumps around as if through like a chirogram, jumping through the beach. So I don't know why she's glowing as she appears at the beginning.
I want to move back like one step.
for
So Higgs suggests a race to Amelie. And I forgot to bring this up when he said this, but he suggests like let's race to Amelie so you can get to her first, basically. But he has Amelie's Kipu. How did he get that if he hasn't
From
been
the vision.
to where Amelie is? From the vision, is he able to physically get things from real people in visions?
No, it's a good question. Have
Yeah.
they actually seen each other?
Yeah, I don't
He's
know.
supposed to have kidnapped her, which
But
we
he-
find
yeah.
out later he didn't. The
yeah,
Homo
and
demons
he
do
has
not
her
have
Kipu. So he has somehow gotten the Kipu from Amelie, but still is like, I'll race you to her. And it's like, I thought you already had her. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so the Homo demons do not have her in Edge Knot City. We find out later. That was all a lie to get Sam to go out there. So if he never was there, then how does he have the Kipu? It's all a great question.
It's just more fuel to the fire of like where in the
Something's
world
going on.
does Amelie actually exist? Is it in this world? Is it only on the beach? Like, is she a real person? Like, does she have a physical body? Is it just a car? Like, I have still no idea what's going on.
So I have a theory on why he has the Kipu.
Okay, let's hear it.
Full disclosure, I was in the middle of going to the bathroom and had to like sprint back here before I moved on.
He was peeing on some BTs, making a number one
peeing
bomb.
on some BTs.
Yeah.
No, so I think the reason that Higgs can't just go straight to Amelie is I think Sam, he's able to go to Sam, and because Sam is with Amelie, that's how he gets to Amelie. That's how he gets the Kipu, is through Sam being there. He's not going directly to Amelie's beach. Does that make sense?
Does
so similar to how
does
Fragile has to do it.
Well, I was just to that point in the vision where Amelie loses the Kipu and Higgs gets it. Do we see Higgs take the Kipu from Amelie in that instance, or does it just? Okay, so
takes it off her
so
neck and
that's
then
a good point, Tucker,
gleefully.
that maybe he's using Sam as a conduit to get to Amelie in like little moments. That might be
and it didn't hit me until Fragile later on explains how she's going to get to the beach.
to Amelie's.
Is
beach.
she?
Okay.
Yeah, to Amelie's beach, because she has to go through Sam to do that.
All right.
And
I
is
can buy
that why Higgs said, let's race to her? So he's like tricking Sam into providing that tunnel that he needs?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes total sense. Yeah. I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
See what happens when you take notes, Tucker? You did it. I'm so proud of you.
I took no notes.
No notes.
No notes. This is all just coming from. I don't think I've taken notes since our very first Last of Us episode. I'm just coming in cold and remembering things.
Tucker's just
Not
showing
been
up.
lost on us.
Yeah, I'm just showing up.
We're getting Tucker at like a B minus. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, his vision of like Higgs taking off the Kipu and then stabbing her, that was definitely a vision. A lot of symbolic things going on, but it's something that clearly has happened. So he can have visions of things, but it's like a construct of different things that will eventually happen. And so the Kipu at some point was taken in reality, and he had a vision of that manifested in a single construct in the beach.
Yep. Yeah. That makes
So that wasn't the moment that Kipu was taken. It was taken at some other point. We just didn't see it.
Huh.
Because she was not stabbed in the neck and voided out at that point.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, I mean,
Right, so-
sometimes when you have dreams, it's like it can be mixtures of reality and fiction.
Yeah, that's
So-
what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, so Amelie can't hear you when she comes in. Later she can. I don't know why she pretends
It's
that
like
she
the
can
first
at
thing that
first.
Sam says. She's like, doesn't just ignores him, and then it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. She says her real name is Amerigo after Amerigo Vespucci. So just
I did a report on Amerigo Vespucci in like third grade, and I felt
Tell me
so
one
smart.
thing
I
you
was
learned.
like, Columbus didn't discover America. It was Amerigo Vespucci. It's not called the United States of Columbus. Like, stupid Columbus. Yeah, it doesn't know anything.
name one other fact you learned and wrote
That's
about.
it. That's all I know. His
Yeah.
daughter/granddaughter makes an appearance in the second Assassin's Creed
Hold
game,
on.
and that's all I know.
Granddaughter/granddaughter? Does that mean she's both, or?
I don't remember which one it is. Yeah,
Okay.
it's either his daughter or his granddaughter.
I know there's a lot of incest going on back then. So
No,
just wanted to,
it's at the beginning of
that up.
Assassin's
Judas
Creed 2.
incest.
Ezio jumps into a girl's window, and her name is something Vespucci, and it's either his daughter or
Consensually?
granddaughter. Yeah. Oh yeah, they're both into it. It's fine.
Okay. Good.
You guys have played Assassin's Creed 2, right? It's one of the only.
No,
good
I've played the
ones.
first three. The first
Okay.
three, the Ezio
haven't
trilogy
played
is
any of them.
incredible.
Oh,
although
well, yeah,
very hard to play by today's.
Okay, and
Oh,
Black
I know,
Flag.
right? So
Well, because
yeah.
you're constantly trying to climb things and you're just like falling off if you push the
Some
the
parts of the
analog stick in
gameplay are
wrong direction.
dated, but the Ezio trilogy, I believe,
All
are
of it.
genuinely very good games.
The story is
and
great.
The story is great. The characters are great, and I think the gameplay is a little rough, but isn't so bad. I actually played through 2 just like I don't know, 6-ish months ago, and I really like that one. But Assassin's Creed 2 is the best one, or Assassin's Creed 4 is the best one by a mile. That game rules. It's
Flag.
awesome.
Yeah.
Because you're just a pirate. It's not even an Assassin's Creed game. You're just a pirate.
No, it's a pirate plus some assassinating.
Yeah, and there's some assassinations on the side. And the story missions are mostly like tail this person, and the story missions kind of suck. But like the rest of the game is so good that it just doesn't matter. Like
It's
It's one of the
good
games I
that-
had 100%.
Yeah.
Had
Yeah.
to.
Wow.
It's so good
Okay.
that it inspired what a Skull and Bones took
we don't
over
talk about
like
Skull
a
and
decade
Bones.
to make. It was the first quadruple A game.
Flopped so hard.
It
Oh my gosh.
took
Wow.
Modern day
critical
Ubisoft,
acclaim.
man, they just don't know what they're doing. Yeah.
So bad. Oh man, what is like? I don't know a single person who played or touched that game. Nobody could
Because
be
it
fooled
was
into
a big
paying
old pile
for
of
it.
dog. Well, it's because they were like, we're gonna take this ship combat from Assassin's Creed 4. We're gonna water it down. We're gonna make it worse. We're gonna make it like a live service online thing, and then we're gonna take away the most interesting aspect of it, was the ability to seamlessly switch between ship combat and like on the ground combat. Because the best part of that game is you shoot up another ship, you weaken it to a certain point where you can pull up next to it, and then you can seamlessly just let go of your steering wheel and then jump onto their
jump
ship and start
across.
killing people.
Yeah.
That
That's
was
not
the
the best part.
That's
No,
what made
second
that
best.
game magic.
Second to the sea shanties.
Oh, well, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, the sea shanties.
There's sea shanties in this game?
Yeah, you can,
Okay.
you can
I gotta
have
put
so
this on
many
my
the
sea
list.
best.
shanties.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's what like these long moments of like traveling across the ocean. You just get to sing sea shanties, and you're like, I could do this all day. I don't care about
Yeah.
this at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so
Some-
far above par for like the rest of the Assassin's Creed series that it feels very out of place because it's miles better than any of them.
And fantastic water. Like I
For
just,
the time,
yeah.
yeah,
Very
Held
it's
up
nice.
for like
so
a decade.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Anyways, so if you're gonna only play one Assassin's Creed, that's the one you should do.
And it's not even an Assassin's Creed game.
It's not. It's just a pirate game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what
It's
were we
the
talking
only
about?
pirate
You,
except
Amerigo.
Zelda.
That's what
Amerigo,
Amerigo.
yeah, Amerigo Vespucci, third grade project, Assassin's Creed. There we. I
right.
figured it out.
all right. So
Not a
she's
buck.
named America. She says America is a lie, just like how America. Just that whole connection of
hard to
how
argue
America
with
was
that
named.
point.
Yeah. She says it's subtle, right? She says she's on our beach where she was born.
Yeah, what does that mean? Someone explain
Where-
that to
where
I
we-
I
where
had
we
that
were
same
born.
note written down. I was like,
Yeah.
our beach? They share a beach and she was born there? Does she have a real body? Like, what's going on with this lady? I have no idea. No concept of how she exists.
Yeah, I have written down, I'm at the beach, Sam, our beach, the one where we were born.
Oh.
Was it we or was it where I was born?
She's on our beach where she.
I have
thought
written
it
down
was-
where I
thought
was
she
born.
said where I was born. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
But
for some
no, I
reason I
don't
wrote down where we were born. Okay.
So
2 against 1. I'll trust you guys.
You're wrong. Yeah.
I can just delete the rest of my notes because I just went off from there. And
physical things can be in the beach, but I don't think. But she would be a Ka then. I don't know. Maybe that's
Yeah,
what makes her an
there's-
extinction entity, is being born in the beach and then having that umbilical cord tying her.
yeah,
to
it,
the real
it all
world.
doesn't make a lot of sense because like we brought back that dog tag from Unger, you know? That was from
Yeah.
a beach.
Yeah, things can.
Yeah, there's a
be
lot
real.
of weird beach things here, especially with there's a fight with the fight with Higgs where he talks about you're unable to repatriate after you die on the beach, and then Sam repatriates on the beach, and you're like, wait a minute, that was
Does
5
he?
minutes ago. Yeah, he
Wait.
goes through the whole repatriation process.
He. So they said there are 2 kinds of beaches. That's Hartman's theory, and he jumps into the water, and then. I mean, I'm getting way ahead of myself. He goes into the water and then he sees another beach. And I think that is the second beach, because when Higgs and Sam are fighting on the higher level beach, where like Amelie's and Sam's beach, that's when you see like you see floating whales and rocks. And I thought that was something you could only see in the physical world. But is there a beach layered on top of a beach? Or is
Yeah.
it just like a manifestation of just like Chiralium distorting? Maybe it really does just distort physics, and it was a projection of the chaos of the extinction entity being in distress.
Yeah, I also had a question about the whales, of just how
We all
come
do.
now these whales are floating. Yeah.
San
And
Diego.
it's just
means
beach
a
on
whale's
beach on beach on
vagina.
beach. Yeah.
It's just beaches all the way down.
All right. So yeah, she says that Higgs can't find her on that beach, and she won't look at Sam in the eyes. So she seems I don't know, very aloof here. She says that she's been keeping things from him. She could end it all as an extinction entity, but she doesn't want to. She wants everyone to be whole. But her tone and like the whole tone of the scene seems to contradict what she's saying. There's a lot of dissonance there. And then she like appears inside of the glass, and so she is literally in a glass case of emotions, just like Anchorman.
Glass case of emotions.
It's two Anchorman.
The bad man put
references,
Baxter over the bridge.
Oh, milk was a bad idea.
I love how the bad man that punts Baxter is Jack Black.
Yeah.
That's the best.
So now this is happening.
Yeah.
Baxter!
Gosh, what a stupid, excellent movie.
And you ate a whole wheel of cheese?
Yeah,
I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
Just impressed.
I have some catching up to do, man.
Have you not seen Anchorman? Oh my gosh, Scott!
Don't have really high expectations. It is a very
Scott
good,
is
very
doing his
dumb
homework
movie.
now, but
Yeah, it fits perfect with like mid 2000s Will Ferrell comedy, like Talladega Nights type of just this ridiculousness.
It's substantially better than Talladega Nights, though.
like you have to develop a flavor for like a taste for that kind of Will Ferrell, and if you don't have it, you don't have it. But you can acquire it. You just have to do it slowly. You can't go straight Step Brothers. You have to do it incrementally.
Yeah.
You never go straight Step Brothers. Yeah.
So what are the gateway movies then that I need to start with?
Anchorman's a
Anchorman's
solid
too heavy.
one.
Well, it's too heavy.
Oh really?
I
I think
man,
Anchorman's
it
the
is
perfect.
so crass. Maybe I'm thinking of the unrated version. I would go with The Other Guys.
Yeah,
but because
that's
it's not
solid.
crass
Other
at all.
Guys is a great movie.
He is not crass
That
in it,
one's
but
super
he is.
funny.
Well, he's a little bit.
Well,
but,
he's a
not
little
by
crass. He has
his own
yeah.
standards. Not
Wait,
by
is
his
the
own
other guys the one that starts with the guys jumping off the building?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Okay.
That's one of
Sam
our favorite
Jackson
movies
is,
of all time. In the
It
Rock.
seems
And
like
The Rock.
maybe I've seen that one, or at least I've seen the beginning of it. Aim for the
Like,
bushes.
it's Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is top 3 best comedy ever made. That, Hot Rod, and I can't even name a third. Is maybe Heavyweights.
Uh-oh. Shane mentioned heavyweights.
Here we go.
Now it's just heavyweights quotes for the rest of the episode. Yeah.
I'll just close my notes.
Don't put Twinkies on your pizza. All right. So you have another Unger moment where they are breaching the door. Just all of his acting is perfect. It's all amazing. Everything he does is amazing.
Doesn't even have to say anything.
Yeah, really doesn't.
No,
It's like
I
he is
have
both
written-
incredibly menacing and like he brings me to tears in all of these in between scenes.
I have written down in a couple of spots that just every scene that Mads Mikkelsen is in is electrifying. He's fantastic.
The mocap in those cutscenes is really good. Like they went all out for his facial expressions and stuff. Like I think it's like they did better with him than anyone else, I feel, in the cutscenes.
Maybe that's like, I mean, they have, BB's containers, so it kind of forces perspective, but like I wonder if like they specifically frame it to do a lot of close-ups so that they can cull all of the assets around him and just focus on the facial animation, so it's just like for efficiency there.
Because there were
it
times
is
like
very good.
Yeah, because I love the story in the Mama episode, but there were times where I was a little bit distracted by what I felt weren't great facial animations in the
It was a little
like in her
over
past.
the top. Yeah.
A little bit. It was like over the top, but at the same
Like when
time not expressive enough. You
Like
know?
when she was like caught under the rubble and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Not
that
that one,
specifically.
But could have been better. Yeah.
Yeah. But with Mads Mikkelsen, it's like it's perfect.
It absolutely is. All right, so you run into Edgenut City. You see floating jellyfish things. I think this is a reference to War of the Worlds and to Metroid because
I hope
they
Metroid.
descend and they kind of try to like suck the light. Well, they blow up, but it
Yeah,
feels
so
like
I ran into those things a long time ago. Actually, they're in other places in the map.
Really?
yes, they
Yeah.
are. They are on your way up the mountain as you're like going up around the valley.
Okay. I think I do remember that.
They're over the
They
water.
were Also, I think it was after I delivered a pizza to that one dude, angler, whatever. I saw one off in the distance. There was like another lake where they were all hanging out. I went over there and saw him.
Lake.
Okay. Yeah, and then I got freaked out. And so I turned around and went back and didn't really think of it again. No way.
Yeah, I was curious why you think they chose jellyfish. I think it's because like their tendrils kind of look like umbilical cords, and so just kind of some.
I think it's just another kind of like faceless, brainless enemy that is uncaring and unfeeling. It's like an uncaring, unfeeling obstacle. Yeah.
It's the not having a brain that kind of like gives it like, is it sentient or not? Kind of like the Odra deck, where it's like, I don't want this. Like, does this thing know I'm here or not? Is it after me? I don't know. That's a good point.
Yeah.
You see a bunch of raised Western Art Deco buildings, and I love that he did this because it contrasts with the brutalist architecture that you see everywhere else for bridges. And the brutalist architecture is clearly denoting like post-Stranding. That is the architecture that is purely pragmatic and utilitarian in function, and you see all of this decay of the old world in what I think is LA or something, or at least
something like that. Yeah,
analogous to what is analogous to LA. You see all of the old world and all the opulence that went with it, and that it's all just pointless and dead. And I love that he chose that to show the stark contrast between the two. But nobody else probably noticed or cared.
I mean, I definitely noticed the difference in the style of buildings, but I didn't think as deeply into it as that. It was just visually showing that, you know, that is part of the past and not part of like the current thing. So.
Well,
that's what it felt like to me. It was in the past.
As somebody with ADHD, there was specifically like 3 weeks where I was like, I'm going to learn everything to know about architecture. And so so that happened. So like, this wasn't something I had to go research. I just knew what brutalist. I knew Art Deco. I know Gucci. Like I know a bunch of these.
Words? Yeah.
I know a bunch of these random things. Streamline Moderne, that's another one.
Sure. Yep, of course.
Sure. Yeah, all of that. All right, so you are told you have to deliver an activation key to Edge Knot City, and it very clearly looks like a BB in a pod, but
yeah,
you just kind of are very casual about that.
I mean, they don't mention that, but he stresses big time that you do not lose this. We cannot replace this.
One of a kind.
Like, if there was ever a time not to mess up delivery, this is the one.
So did anybody else make that connection with maybe this is a BB similar to your BB, similar to BB-28, as a unique BB that's irreplaceable? Because I think there's something going on with BB-28 because John talks about like, oh, I didn't know you were the father. In previous cutscenes. So I think there's a connection here between these two BBs being certain keys, but I don't really. It's a loose theory.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll definitely find out more about this later.
You
can't just.
I do have a theory, but it's mentioned in I think the next episode, which I started. I don't want to bring it up here.
I did the whole next episode, so I'm just going to pretend I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it was short. All
right, so you have to finish connecting the UCA. You got to rescue Amelie so that she could take the presidency. You have another moment at the beach, but this time you're clothed. Sam, I knew you'd come for me. You came for me. I knew you would. But it's like I did it the wrong voice. I think this is like Higgs is doing the voice, and then he does the shh thing and he points off to the ocean.
Yeah, have we talked about the shh on the beaches yet? Because this happens all the time. Like Hartman, the old lady that like pokes him in the heart to resuscitate him, also does the shh motion. And
yes, I remember there was a time when I think it was when Deadman was in the room, and it pans over to Lou, who's on the table because they had put him there, and BB very obviously does a see no evil, speak no, like hear no evil, and then does this, and then sucks his thumb.
Hmm.
And it was really weird.
Amazing.
Yeah, like then I looked it up on YouTube and watched it again to make sure that I wasn't seeing things. And yeah, it's like it does that very specifically in that order.
I did not know that. I have no idea what the on the beach means.
Yeah, like it's just everywhere.
Well, he does it.
I didn't notice the
He does it
first
in
time I
the
was playing it.
prologue too.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? He does, and then he points to the giant hand monster.
Yeah, so
Oh,
just
and then
like
here
a
he does this, and he points at the giant Amelie walking through the water.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
I
think Amelie being no, it's fine. I can't have every revelation, but no, I think Amelie looking like at that size is identical in size to the BTs. The one in the beginning and the one that we see right after this. So I don't know if is it a symbolic thing or it has to be a symbolic thing. She's not that size, but
big extinction event.
Well,
extinction entity.
Right after this, when you have to face off against that monster, Amelie is fused into its chest. So there's some kind of connection there.
Well, and there's a moment where her head takes the place of its head.
Yeah. Well, and she like
that's horrifying.
She like makes it like after. I'm getting ahead of myself, but yeah, never mind. I'll save it for yeah.
Yeah, and then Higgs says, "I need to tell you something. I am the extinction entity." So a lot of like whenever it's supposed to be her talking, it's him talking, and vice versa. Like they're doing a lot to like conflate who's talking and whose intentions are whose. So I don't know.
Yeah, because she had already told you that she was an extinction entity, and then she's telling you again. But is it Higgs telling you, or?
Yeah, I think it's indicating that Higgs is either has a level of control or is developing a level of control over Amelie.
Okay.
And it could just be his extinction level. Maybe he's bumping up to level 8, control over EEs.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so then you see Higgs takes off the mask and it's actually Amelie. And you wake up to the red alert going off. And after this, you have the continuation of that Unger scene where he's singing to BB as he dies. That song is beautiful, by the way, as the people breach the room.
Yeah. Okay. So if you go check on Lou when all the red lights are flashing, I went and did that.
Mm-hmm.
He goes and he checks on him, but Lou is facing the opposite way, and Sam taps on him a few times, and then he turns around, and it's Dead Man's face on the baby.
Ugh.
Yeah.
What?
And then Sam freaks out, and then he kind of like wakes up on the bed, and then you're just back there, and the red light's still flashing. And then if you go check on him again, everything's normal.
I'm glad you saw that.
That's crazy weird.
I like to go check on Lou.
Okay. I don't check on him ever.
Shan don't care.
I'm required to. Well, you don't either.
You're not feeling a connection with Lou after all this time? You're missing the point of the game here.
That baby could win a contest of babies I don't care about.
Be the star of a TV show called Babies I
that's
Don't
what.
Care About. All right, so you run outside. There's a giant BT with Amelie on his chest. It's hooved, I think. I don't think it has feet. I think it has hooves for feet, so that's fantastic. It doesn't have hands. It has nubs, and out of its nubs are tendrils, which are really umbilical cords. And at the end of the umbilical cords, at the end of this scene when it's dying, you find out it has Chiralium hands, which are pulling the BTs out of the pools of Chiralium, and they're golden BTs, and they fly at you like, I don't know, like Superman. I don't know. It's fantastic.
Yeah, creepy.
All right. So Higgs says that he's happy about the UCA, which is, again, antithetical to his entire shtick. But the increasing chiral density helped him to find Amelie, and he wants the antimatter to void out everything, and he owes it to Sam. And he says, "Meet your ender." He pulls up Amelie, so he like pulls her out of the BT and puts the mask on her, and he starts to puppet her.
I was, as we were talking just a second ago, I had a thought. Tucker earlier talked about having a question about what the significance of Higgs' mask is. And he puts it on Amelie to it seems like to gain control of her. And he puts it on Sam for a minute to, cause something unpleasant to happen to Sam. I wonder if the mask for Higgs helps him in some way amplify his dooms. And maybe that's what's helping him have a stronger connection to Amelie. that is helping him to some degree control her.
I mean, it's a Chiralium mask, so it
just a
is
thought I
giving him
had.
greater connection to Chiralium.
Right, and so I was wondering if the mask wasn't necessarily about Higgs controlling Amelie or letting the whole extinction entity thing bleed through more, you know?
Exposing her to more chiral energy. So that
right. Yeah. And so what we usually interact with Amelie is the mask that he's talking about, and somehow this Chiralium mask removes that. And so what's inside her can come out. So I wasn't sure, though, because we talk about him puppeting her, but she's also saying that she is the extinction entity. Right. But she told us that before, you know, and then she says it again.
Like in her natural innate state, she wants, I think, as an organism, as the extinction entity, she knows it is necessary to bring the final extinction event. And maybe that's just unlocking it. Whereas when she's not under that, she is able to control it and she suppresses it.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
All right. So the great work is nearly complete. They want to merge all beaches into a single shore. And when this happens, they'll cause an extinction like no other, the last. And this is her purpose, the last stranding, a mega beach for all cause to pass on collectively.
Mega beach.
Mega beach.
All that matters is getting more mega beach.
All right, so the BT is mimicking Amelie as it lifts up its hand, and they're pointing off in the distance, which I'm guessing is to like the floating beach in the sky.
The latency would be unusable, though.
Yeah.
Unplayable.
Input lag is really bad.
Yeah. He says Amelie is the source of dooms and everything that haunts us, nightmares and visions of an inescapable future. So we've already been talking about that. It causes visions and it causes nightmares. So maybe, okay, so which are visions and which are nightmares? Maybe not everything we know are visions of the future. So now the beach is both when he's dead, sometimes it is just shared reality that they're passing, that they're sharing with other people. Sometimes it is actually a nightmare, and sometimes it's a vision. So it can be so many things. It is just a black box of a room where anything is possible, but we know all the bounds of what it can be. All right. Sure. So Amelie goes to hug you and says, "Don't you get it?" And then the camera pulls around his back, turns into Higgs. So again, just confusing the two, like which is which. But after you did that, she's back up on the BT, and Higgs emerges from the belly. So he wants to control this thing, and you get into a giant BT fight, which is incredible.
Heck yeah!
So cool.
Yeah, it's not
you
particularly
get these
hard, but it's really good.
You get like a big rocket launcher kind of a thing, and so this is some of the most powerful weaponry that you've had so far in the game.
Oh yeah, I bought 4 of them before I started because I knew what was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was told to load up, so I bought a ton too. It kind of made quick work of the thing.
Yeah, it's a fantastic fight.
Yeah, it's a fun, big spectacle of a fight, but if you come in ready, it's not super tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so after this, Amelie has the mask on. She collapses into Higgs' hands. He says that he'll hold on to Extinction for now. And then he tries to shoot Sam, but the Odradek stops it because BB is protecting him. So BB has control over this Odradek.
Which so cool, by the way, that BB is protecting Sam. I love that. That it's not a one-way connection, because we know that like Sam is feeling very connected to BB, but now we're seeing that BB is starting to reciprocate that connection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we see little bits of that earlier when like the heart bubbles and stuff like that, but this is really definitive, like BB has initiated ride or die protocol. Like he's he's there for Sam.
Also, did anybody else have a little bit of a heart attack when at first Higgs shoots at them and like it hits BB's case?
Oh,
yeah. Well, he shoots again and then he shoots BB's case. Yes.
Yeah. That was
good thing.
There's like a split second where you're like, he just killed BB.
Yeah.
All right. So after that, he's like, all that for a repatriate. What's the point? And then he shoots Sam again. And then he pats Amelie's butt and takes her to the beach. And you die.
Yeah. Oh, and Higgs called it Doomsday.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Clever. You're never too busy for a good pun, you know?
No.
Trying
and
to
then
end the
Die
world.
Hartman says the same thing.
Yeah. All right, so Higgs wants to connect the knots to Amelie's beach. Only Sam can make the jump because he's been to her beach, not the other way around. She's not at his beach. He's at her beach, where she was born. And so Sam can make the jump, and Fragile is going to follow. And the Dreamcatcher is a totem that allows him to find that beach because they both have shared memory with it. And then Fragile can jump to Sam using the Misanga, which is a Brazilian friendship bracelet. So fantastic. All right, so he decides to leave BB and the weapons. I'm guessing he leaves the weapons because he knows he'll kill him if he sees him. So it's just to stop himself. And this time he asks for a crypto buyout, and so he's just
I love that little moment.
Steals her.
Where it's him and Fragile, and he says, "Hey, you got anything to eat?" And it's just this, again, a nice little moment of character growth for Sam. Relying on other people, reaching out to other people. I love it.
She says she has to touch him to send him to the beach, and she finds his love for Amelie before she sends him. So, yes, I don't know. It's a beautiful moment, but it's sad. It's like so much is going on here with Amelie. So much is uncertain, but his love is solidified in that moment. He's 100% in still. All right, but then you jump to the beach and you see Amelie and Higgs are colluding, it looks like, and she's surprised you're there, and then he suddenly is like, oh, I'm going to pretend I knew exactly, I was in control of this situation. So he zaps her and floats her around and disappears her into a tendril web. That looks a lot like the Dreamcatcher because she looks like the little Chiralium crystal in the center of it.
Yeah, well, it's another spider web too. For me, it looked like the one Unger is in the.
It does, but she's at the center of it, which so it looks
just
like the spider web, but also
Dreamcatcher.
she's at, and she also curls up in like a little ball like that. I guess it also could just be like a fly that a spider has caught.
Also, I wrote down the little monologue that Higgs goes into here because I think it's fantastic.
Go for it.
Setting up the final battle, Higgs has got Amelie, and it's kind of like all right, let's do this sort of a thing. And he goes, there's no repatriation here. One of us dies. That's it. He goes to the other side. Nice, huh? Lucky loser gets to put an end to this rinse and repeat bullshit once and for all. So no BTs, no void outs, no bullshit. Just a good old fashioned boss fight. Stick versus rope, gun versus strand. One more end before the end. One last game over. And I love that last little bit where it's just like, I love the meta narrative of him referring to it as a boss fight. I think that's just Kojima being cute. Like, it's fun. But I really love the stick versus rope. Higgs obviously being the stick, Sam being the rope. Higgs is a symbol of power and fight and, oppression maybe. Sam being the rope, a sign of connection, ropes tie knots. And then gun versus strand. So again, just different words for the same imagery. It says one more end before the end, because he knows that one of them is going to end here before the end. That is the extinction event. So that last little line, it's just like very poetic, very well constructed. Higgs has been rehearsing it in his bathroom mirror for months, probably. But I love that little monologue he gives right before the boss fight kicks off. I think it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why do you think there's no repatriation at the beach? Because there's no seam? It could just be that. I don't know.
I mean, so Fragile takes them there to the beach. Is this just a showdown between their Haas? Are their bodies not there?
Their Kaz, you mean?
Or yeah, their Kaz.
No, Fragile sends physical things through the beach.
Okay, so their physical bodies are at the beach. So I don't know. The rules are different in the beach.
So I guess it is their Haas. You were right the first time on accident.
I was right the first time, accidentally.
But that means that Higgs is able to travel to beaches, same as Fragile. That makes sense. He has a high dunes.
Well, he's a higher level of dunes, so yeah.
Well, he's a level 7. That's really high.
Yeah.
Really subtle office quotes whenever I can manage them. He's a black belt that's really high.
Don't get too excited. That's out of 20.
Clearance level 7.
Yeah.
All right. So you get into this fantastic little fight around the beach, and like the AI is fantastic here. I mean, it's a little bit dumb. You can sneak on him very easily. Other than that, it's like it feels very grounded, and like the movement and everything of Higgs feels fantastic.
Yeah, every once in a while you see Kojima like showing little signs of his Metal Gear Solid past, where he's like, you got to sneak around. You know, it's like he can't stay away from it for too long. He's like, I got to put a little bit of sneaking into the game. Like,
yeah. I snuck around a little bit, but I was just running around finding cargo to chuck at him. That's what I did.
Yeah, I just love how it's like, oh, you have a gun? Let me throw this package at you.
Not a lot you can do in a suitcase hurling towards your face. Yeah.
All right, so then you walk, like you go to save Amelie, and he wants to get into fisticuffs with you. He says, "We got Doom, Sam. This was only ever going to end one way." So I didn't know if that was supposed to mean something specifically. Why does it have to end a specific way? Because they have dooms? Like, I read way too much into all of this. But I feel like he has to mean something.
Maybe it's because this is the only way people with dooms can actually die is on a beach.
Oh, on the beach. There you go. I like that. That explanation works for me.
Well, Sam is trying to stop Amelie, and he says this was only going to end one way. And I thought he was referring to, like, it has to end with the Extinction event. But if he's saying we have dooms, this has to end that way. I didn't know if that meant, like, dooms is a harbinger that says that inevitably the Death Stranding is coming. So you can't run from it all you want, but it is coming.
Yeah, I think maybe Dooms is, hey, we've both seen the end. It has to end this way.
Okay.
We're on the same page. We already know what's going to happen. And so it's going to happen one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Sam has seen little visions, glimpses of a potential sixth extinction event, like towards the beginning of the game. So,
yeah.
Then you get into a side-by-side arcade fighter, like Tekken or Street Fighter, that ends in a headbutt. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the best. It reminded me a lot of the final confrontation with, spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
But between Ellie and Abby right at the end. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
I'll just mute a little bit.
Oh, I should have. Damn it.
Okay,
I'm
you didn't spoil that much.
Oof. I will not ever. I'm done talking for the episode. I regret that more than anything I've done in the rest of my life. I'm so sorry.
No, I don't think you actually spoiled anything for me that I wasn't already partially aware of.
Okay. Good. I am very, very sorry.
No.
Yeah. All right. So let's just move on. Because we're definitely going over time, and I have to get through some here. Let's just say, Fragile shows up. By the way, in the background, you see the rainbow. It's right side up, and it's only blue. So this is the chirality of the rainbow on the beach. It's upside down in our world because that is the chiral representation of the blue rainbow in the beach that's up in the sky. Mm-hmm. So that does lend to my theory that, like, the upside down rainbow is really a right side up rainbow on the beach. I was right about that. I don't know if I said that part out loud, but I think I did. So that was cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Okay. So this part, it appears that Higgs is trying to manipulate Amelie, and he's while Fragile is standing over, and he says, "Give me power, damn it!" And she pulls off the mask, and nothing happens. So he doesn't have his powers anymore, and he's broken. Mm-hmm. I think this could mean something else, but what do you think?
I think Sam punched the dooms out of him. I don't actually know. He punched the highlights out of her hair. Did you guys ever watch Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Well,
yeah, this part I wanted to ask about because I wrote it down too because I wasn't exactly sure what it all meant. Like if he was broken, but he also says that Amelie is the one supplying all of this power. Mm-hmm. And so it seemed like he was yelling that to Amelie, but did he lose some kind of connection with her after the fight? And so is Amelie consciously not providing him with power? Or was some other connection broken and it's not something that Amelie gets to choose?
So I think you're getting at exactly what I caught on. It's like it's supposed to be a double meaning. You think that he is trying to take power from her, But what if he's trying to get her to grant him power? And she has been granting him this dooms level this whole time. And she has taken his dooms from her because she, as an extinction entity, grants dooms, which they have made very clear. So if he suddenly has no dooms, has no power, then has she taken it from him? And she won't give any back, so now he is worthless. She's moved on from him. Because we see them colluding at the beginning of this scene. So clearly there's something that we're not supposed to understand, but they're foreshadowing it. So I think you're supposed to see past this.
Yeah, I mean, like you said before, Amelie and Higgs were doing something at the beginning of this scene. And now that Sam has beaten Higgs up, is Amelie seeing Sam as some kind of replacement for Higgs?
Or she just has to pretend that she's still on Sam's side. And so she's, saving face. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so after this, Fragile takes out a gun to kill Higgs. Sam returns the Cupid to Amelie. Fragile gives mask to Sam as a metaphor, but he returns it. Says she needs to display to people with Porter syndrome, not to mess with her, and that, they'll take him out. I guess that's what that's referring to. The metaphor. She was able to bring Lou to the beach by imagining it as equipment because she is a courier, so she needs to imagine it as something she would curry. I don't think that's the word. Port, as a porter. Yeah. But Amelie is kind of here, and she tells her to go off and she'll take care of Sam. I don't know why she was mean to her. Is this referring to like her blowing up cities when she was trying to connect the UCA? Is she jealous because she wants Sam to herself? I don't know.
Yeah, it feels very weird. Like there's this weird tension between them that I did not expect to be there.
Yeah, it was weird.
And then Sam takes Amelie's side, like, hey, we're good now. Like, peace, I'm going to go with my, extinction entity sister.
Yeah, and then Fragile doesn't take it well. She's like, fine, we're square, nothing owed, nothing left to say. Goodbye, Sam, and then just leaves. Like, yeah.
All right. Well, Amelie asks if Sam still believes in her. Sam says this whole thing was, asks if this whole thing was for her or for Bridget, connecting the UCA. Because if it were for Strand, if it were for the president, it would be for the ideological aims of reconnecting everybody. If it were for her as an extinction entity, it would be for ushering in the Death Stranding. It's the same thing for two completely different ends. And she says it was for the country.
I mean, we hope.
Yeah. She says when Sam was back east, she slipped out to go visit him. just very loose with that term. I don't know what slipped out means.
Slipped out of where? To like from what?
Yeah. The homo demons hadn't captured you. We understand this now. So she slipped out at the beach.
But it also shows that she's willing to some degree to kind of use herself as bait or motivation for Sam, because she wanted Sam to connect the UCA, and she's like, Sam won't go, like, doesn't care about any of this, but if it's about saving me, then he'll care about it.
Yeah. Right. That's messed
that makes
up.
him mad.
Little manipulative, not super.
A little, yeah.
What's funny because he's like, "You're right. I don't care about anybody. And I only cared about you." But then he's like, "And I still love you, and we're still best friends."
Okie doke, man. Whatever works for you. Well, and he says something like when he accuses her of like kind of making herself a MacGuffin for him. He says like, so I'm Mario and you're Princess Peach. And I just like, is there any game dev in the world besides Kojima that Nintendo would let get away with this?
That was my thought too. I'm like, man, that is a surprising direct sued.
I know, but like Nintendo has cracked down on people for far less. But I just feel like there's got to be some level of like mutual respect there where they're like, nah, it's Kojima, it's fine. Like Nintendo's
maybe it was
lawyers,
like the trade for putting Snake in Smash Brothers.
That's what it was. He's like, I'll let you have Snake for Smash Bros, but you gotta let me have this one line for my game.
You have to let me have Princess Peach.
Yeah.
It also alludes to the fact that maybe Sam was a gamer in his earlier days. He played some old school Mario.
Mm.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, so they go running on the beach. Sam is actually happy. He's never smiled like this the entire game.
Yeah. Anybody else find it weird that there's like this emphasis on running versus just like walking?
Yeah.
Amelie's like, let's run.
Leave?
And he's like, run. And then they're like, just running on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the scene was weird.
Yeah, he's like, how do we leave? He's like, do we need Fragile to teleport us out or whatever? And she's like, no, what does she say? I wrote it down because
the beach goes all the way.
The beach goes all the way. We just run. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, all the way
well, the beach
where?
is connected to the other side of the UCA.
Okay.
Yeah, to the east.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. All right.
The beach is everywhere.
Yeah, yes. The running threw me off on this.
But how are they exiting the beach? Because it sounded like Sam was like, how do we leave the beach? And she's like, you just run. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound right. Like,
no, they run.
That's the key.
They get to the entry that they want, and then
you can just leave.
He repatriates.
Oh, I can just run.
Because then he gets to another part of the ocean, and then he repatriates.
Right.
I watched that again the other day. That Tim Robbins said,
I can
just run.
I can just run.
It's so funny.
I was just trying to do something nice.
We skipped over with Fragile and Higgs.
Oh yeah, she kills him.
Oh yeah. What is
that was really unsatisfying for me.
Oh, you wanted to see
it's
it?
Like he just totally phoned in. Like it felt like the writers just phoned it in. Nothing but damaged goods. And then she punches him and says, no, you're damaged goods.
Yeah. That was
such a poor comeback.
It was.
Also, how did it not break her hand? Yeah. Like, if it broke her hand, that would be pretty cool. But
yeah,
that was the terrible line.
Well, and then it's like, and then it pans back to Sam and Amelie, and there's like, Sam gives her a gun, and then it just goes away, and there's no gunshot sound until like a little bit later. Then there is a gunshot sound. But at first, I was like, is she not even going to kill him? Like, what's going on here?
No, she's just teasing him.
Yeah. But like, obviously, they're capable of writing really good stuff. I mean, you read that whole monologue, went back and watched it, and wrote it down. Good. It's so good. And then we have this. I mean, that juxtaposition is just...
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah. And she's had a decade to prepare for this. And that is what she came up with. She improvised.
Yeah, it was bad. Anyway, sorry to take us back all the way there.
No, it's fine.
We hadn't talked about it.
I forgot.
Yeah, we can't miss that. Yeah.
All right, so Amelie climbs up the side of the cliff, and then you just see this bonkers situation playing out. President Bridget Strand.
First off, Amelie's like, hey, wait here. And then Sam's like, all right. And then immediately hikes up the cliff. Like,
well, on the
ask
beach,
you one thing, Sam.
It is both 1 minute and forever that he waited.
Yep.
But yeah, you see Bridget Strand dressed in white. And then Die Hardman says, you finally invited me to the beach.
I think so.
I don't know how Bridget screwed up the uniting of the country. I don't know what he's referring to. I don't think we're supposed to know yet. Also, how could she... They say... Deadman says later that she was incinerated, so her car wouldn't be at the beach. But also, Amelie disappeared as soon as she went over the cliff. Also, President Strand very clearly is not an old woman. She is now a young Amelie with glasses.
Yeah.
She looks
like a little bit older Amelie. Yeah, but it looked like her.
Yeah, plus, I've been waiting for this. Did you notice that President Strand had a cancer, rag around her hair because they were concealing the color of her hair at the beginning of the game? They were trying to hide how similar she looked to her own daughter.
There you go.
It was very clever. But, I couldn't jump the gun on that because I was aware of why they were doing it. All right, so... so she invited him to the beach, and he's a repatriate. So I think she's invited him to kill him forever. Which we just learned about.
Or use Sam/Higgs to kill him forever.
Yes.
Because I'm wondering if there's a backup plan with Higgs. If Higgs kills Sam, then Higgs is her right-hand man to then take out John here. Anyway, I have a whole background story of why they were colluding, but we don't have time for it. So
okay,
next time.
Well, she says, "Okay, get on with it," and he shoots. Nothing happens. She says, "There's no atonement not for us." I don't. Is this the BB project? Maybe it shows. Let's see. then she points off to the ocean, and we see Unger with his soldiers coming up. So this is referring to the BB and the Manhattan Project and what they did to Unger and maybe all of the people around that. But so this was my theory, is that she brought Die Hardman to the beach so that he could act as a tether to bring Unger to the beach, because Die Hardman has a stronger connection to Unger. And then she wanted to use Unger to sick on the BB. So really she was just using, maybe she wanted to kill Die Hardman forever, but I think it was also to, she was trying to entrap the BB and Sam and stuff.
I
don't think that's
I like the idea of her using Unger to get BB, to trap BB on the beach or something.
Yeah.
I wonder why though.
I love that the soldiers in Unger come out of the water, because that's where all the dead bodies are floating, like when you're repatriating and stuff. So that's just it looks beautiful, but it's also just continuous with all of his lore. All right, so Die Hardman says no, it can't be. So he clearly knows Unger, so they definitely were the ones in the vision together. Unger leans in and pulls off the mask and asks if it's really you, and he can't remember his name exactly. He says Joe. He says yes, John. So he's not all the way there for some reason.
Oh, I didn't get that impression.
See,
I thought he was just struggling because it was like emotional for him. I didn't.
That's what I thought too. I thought it was.
My impression wasn't.
Oh, okay. I don't take Unger as somebody who, well, he seems so emotionally resilient. So, okay, sure. He could just be stuttering because he's shocked. Let's take that. All right, so, yes, she sicks Unger on the BB. Well, what's happening here? So Unger goes to point the gun at President Strand, and she says, well, no, what you want is over there, and points at BB, and so he comes after you. And then it flashes back to Sam, and Amelie is suddenly back there, but you see in the distance, President Strand is not there anymore. And then Amelie says, you gotta go, and she pushes him into the water, and he repatriates.
Yeah, see, this is where you don't repatriate on the beach, but then
you don't repatriate if you die on the beach. But
yes.
when you normally repatriate, you go into the water from the beach to repatriate.
Okay.
So she's pushing him into the water so that he can repatriate.
Yes. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense.
And that's where we see the second beach, so maybe the second level of beach.
That's interesting, because we have that final fight scene with Higgs in the water. Wouldn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose that Higgs was talking about then?
Well, maybe if one of them had killed the other, even if they were in the water, but their was dead.
Yeah, it's not being in the water, because the water is just where the bodies are, where the seams are for you to repatriate. So you could still die in the water, but if you've not repatriated at your seam, you would still be dead forever. He has to actually enter his throat. And this time when he does, there's a doll in his throat. And I don't know what that was supposed to mean. Is he not actually sent home because it's not a real bridge baby to bridge him to reality? But probably not. I don't know. I don't know what it means.
Yeah, because he has
Amelie's...
BB. Is he wearing BB at the time?
He got BB from Fragile.
Right.
Maybe since BB is with him on the beach.
Okay, so you need something else to
side.
Symbolically bridge. You know what? That makes sense. BB's already there. That's so smart.
Right. And
although other times when he voids out, BB is protected by staying in his throat, I guess. But it's symbolic. But
I don't know, man. There are rules. I'm sure there are rules. There's a document somewhere that only Kojima has access to that makes this all make sense.
Okay. This is so hard.
Yeah.
We're not doing anybody any favors by talking about this.
You don't know. Maybe we are.
Yeah, I don't know. As a souvenir, Fragile. Well, Fragile. I think he says Fragile gave it to him. Yeah.
Also, why is he being invisible and floating around with the mask, intentionally trying to scare Sam? Like, what? He's walking through Sam. He's trying to scare him with the mask. He's taking showers with Sam. It's like, this dude does not respect any of Sam's boundaries. Like,
he has no car. The
second weirdest he's been.
Yeah. It's the second weird. Nothing gets weirder than the shower. Yeah.
What? How'd you know what I was talking about?
Yeah.
But Fragile has brought everybody to whatever city, wherever they're going. So Deadman could have the mask there, but still, like, he doesn't have to be doing this.
Doesn't have to be being a douche about it. Yeah.
Right. So, so
I like how she brings everybody except arguably the most important person.
Well, also the person that could. I would save him for last because he's already proven he can travel across the entire country.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have to get all of them there, he's resilient. All right. So Deadman says that Bridget couldn't have remained on hers or her daughter's beach after being burned. So I thought maybe this meant you are denying an afterlife to the Ka because you're preventing the buildup of Chiralium in the Ha for the Ka to pass through. But actually, I don't know necessarily that that's the mechanic. I think that they just immediately pass on.
Well, I would think so because, like, Hartman's family and that whole thing,
they were incinerated. Void outs incinerate.
Yeah, and so they were walking in the water. So I think it's just they can't remain on the beach because they are already.
Yeah, they go straight through the beach to whatever lies afterwards, rather than being trapped on the beach like a BT.
Yeah, and this maybe ties into like Mama's whole mechanic. She has. Okay, let's not get back into that. It'll go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
and I won't get any of it.
It's going to be our first 3-hour episode.
Yeah.
So Deadman also pulls out Die Hardman's mask and puts that on. I don't know how it fits his face as well as fitting everyone else's face, but sure. Because it also later fits President Strand's face. I'm guessing this model doesn't actually. I'm sure they have like 2 or 3 models for this mask. Just pretending it's the same one. Yeah, so he believes that Die Hardman was really at the beach because Die Hardman has been missing. He says, we've been operating under the assumption that Higgs was controlling Cliff, but that can't possibly be correct because Higgs is gone now. So so Sam asks, you think Cliff is the mastermind? So now we're thinking maybe Cliff is the one orchestrating the controlling of the extinction entity or something like that. That's their theory. And so he thinks Cliff is holding Amelie and the director captive on the beach to try to usher in the extinction. Is that what he's saying?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Yes, that makes sense.
Maybe Unger was.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know what they are the mastermind of, because I feel like the story has changed so much in this, like, in these 2 chapters.
Yeah. All right. So he says there's one last step. They must reestablish the presidency and the government. And Sam says he doesn't care for America anymore. He's done. Hartman appears and he agrees with him. He's like, the point is the same. We still have to do this finals. He still has to come back east to prevent the 6th extinction event and save Amelie. And everybody's been brought to headquarters except for Sam. And it's not safe to use beaches anymore, conveniently, after everybody used the beach. And all of the wires
everyone
are crossed
except for you, dum-dum.
from connecting all these beaches. All the beaches are starting to merge, so you got to hike it back by yourself.
Yeah, it seemed like a little bit of like story hand-waving just so that you have to go back yourself instead of just being teleported there. Which I think from a gameplay perspective makes a lot of sense because what comes next is much better because of that. But from a story perspective, it's like, it seems like they're just kind of, they're like, we know that we don't want Sam to teleport where he needs to go, and we'll just make up reasons and we'll work backwards from there. Like, a little bit of hand waving going on. Stuff can be 2 things. Yeah.
Hartman also says Dooms is a gift from Amelie to us.
Yeah, so Amelie as an extinction entity grants Dooms.
Yeah.
And so she took it from Higgs. I swear that must be what's happening.
Yeah, that makes the most sense to me.
She who giveth can take it away.
It was just interesting. Yeah. It's just interesting that Hartman calls it a gift. That other guy refers to it as suffering. It's all about perspective, I guess.
Right, you have one last Unger dream. And they say the child. So this is Die Hardman and President Strand, who's wearing the Die Hardman mask. And they say the child is special as a baby candidate or as a sacrifice. And she says that the BB can act as a foundation and a bridge. I don't know what that means. We're not supposed to know. But officially, President Strand, right there at the Manhattan Project with Die Hardman, colluding to get this BB for nefarious purposes and kill Unger. So President Strand is also involved in killing Unger. And she stood over the Die Hardman while he shot Cliff as well. So it's all connected. Dark past.
Do we do it? Wham bam.
We did it.
Else?
Thank you, ma'am.
We did it.
Wham bam.
No. I think a lot of the questions and stuff that I have will be answered in the chapters coming, because there are still lots of things that don't make perfect sense. But yeah.
Well, then that's going to do it for us today. Please like, comment, subscribe, and follow Eric's Indie Corners on Thursdays. That'll do it for us today. Bye.
Bye. We did it.
I probably did. Bye.
Longest episode ever.
Outro. Bleepity doof, bleepity bloopity blow.